ready to race here in Atlanta.
Love it when it's 4 wide, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders call acts moving past. Love it when I make it lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys! This racetrack right here is one of the fastest on the NASCAR circuit.
Trouble back straight away.
We got fast cars, fast track.
Wild Thing wins.
18 is back in Atlanta.
Love it when it's 4 wide, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders call acts moving past. Love it when they make it lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Let's go racing, boys.
We got fast action, baby! It's all over Fox and it rocks!
Fox Sports welcomes you to the Kobalt Tools 500. Engines under fire. We'll see which ones could hold up after 500 miles here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This the fourth of 36 races. And among the drivers featured today, Tony Stewart, who's twice won at Atlanta. Matt Kenseth, he's won twice this year, but never here on this track. And Jimmy Johnson trying to pick up a slow start. Blue skies, temperatures in the 70s for race time, the weather just right. Wherever you're watching, we're glad you're with us for NASCAR on Fox and the Hollywood Hotel, along with champion driver and crew chief Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers. Glad to see you. You excited to go race? It's fast and furious in Atlanta.
It really is. These are the banks of America. There's no bailing out here. Just a little Sunday afternoon stimulus package.
Sounds like he's running for office.
Yeah, you know, say, what are you trying to
I
pull
like
here?
that. I thought that up all by myself.
But the thing about this place right now, it's a lot like Darlington. It's going to be slip sliding away, slowing down a little bit. Got to have tires.
Junior said, tough grip to finding your way. Mark Martin found his way. He may be 50 years old, but he is number one today, starting on the pole for this race. First time he's been on the pole since 2001. Kyle Busch is red hot. You know, he won in Vegas last week on his home turf. He won here last year in this race, and then yesterday in the trucks, he was in victory lane again. And a developing story. Martin Truex Jr., driver of the one car, taken to a local hospital last night, passed a kidney stone. We're happy that he's okay and set to drive. He's been given clearance to roll today. We're glad he's all right.
He's all right, but they had some other issues right there also with that number one group. The transport driver, Larry Hart, had an issue with his heart and had to go to the hospital, had a triple bypass, but I think he's doing well.
I think he's all right, too, but he's going to have to pass a lot of cars today.
Speaking of passing, what about, you got the extremes here of the old man, and I use that term loosely, with Mark Martin.
I think there was a time when experience was a virtue here, but that was Morgan Shepherd. He won in, I think he was 51 years old. Then you look at Kyle Busch. He won here when he was 22 years old, and I think that's the way this racetrack is today. You got to go out there and you got to be brave and bold and let it hang out. I think you're going to see some of that same stuff today.
Yep. Like I said earlier, you better watch out. Darlington-type racetrack. Tires are going to wear out, and you've got to have a guy that can let it hang out. And I think Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, you're going to watch those guys.
Get Carl.
Get cousin Carl.
Carl Edwards. Some of the drivers, you mentioned him. Another one to keep an eye on today is Clint Bowyer. He's been consistent, Clint. Boyer has made the chase the last 2 years. Even with a new team this year, he's currently up to second, which is a career best in points.
Clint Bowyer ready to roll today.
Here comes Clint Bowyer.
It likes being up there near the front. And Boyer's going for it. That was unbelievable. That was definitely worth a wow right there.
My new hero.
And we welcome Clint live from down on the track, getting ready to roll here. Thanks for being with us. And even though you're still with Richard Childress, you did change teams. So, Clint, how have you been able to not miss a beat, even though there's some new guys around you?
Just changed, good guys. Shane Wilson and everybody on the the Cheerios, Hamburger Helper Chevrolet. The first three races have been good. I think the BB&T Chevrolet is good this weekend. I mean, you're only as good as the people around you, and Richard's always surrounded me with great people. Shane's been making good calls on the box. We're still a new team, though. Practice sessions is where we're struggling a little bit. We don't have that test session during the week where we can go and work on our chemistry, on our communication. So we're having to do that, having to learn each other through practice sessions, and it's slowing us down a little bit. But once we get to the race, I think it's business as usual, and look for today to be, no different.
Hey, Clint, it's DW. The Shane Wilson, your crew chief, last week he proved he doesn't mind taking a chance. He's a gambler. How did that come about? How did you and he get together, and how's it worked out for you?
Well, we were in Vegas, weren't we? Supposed to gamble out there, but yeah, you know, he gambles, but it's an educated gamble. You know, I mean, he really works hard, really studies the races hard, and you know, I'm proud of him for taking that chance. I mean, it's early in the season. It's time to take those chances, try to get a win. You know, we're hungry for wins. We need that momentum with a fresh team, a new team starting out. You know, we need those good runs to keep the momentum going. So certainly, getting the year started off on the right foot is very important to us, and we've done that. We just got to keep that ball rolling.
Well, Clint, this is Hammond. First and foremost, I want to say I am sorry that I did not have a better insight as far as what you guys are going to be doing and how good you were going to be, because I didn't think you guys would be a contender this year for the chase. But right now, you're definitely making it happen, first thing. Now, the other thing is you come to Atlanta, 3 sixth-place finishes here. Great racetrack for you. What do you like about this track?
Well, I was just, you know, an old dirt racer. I was slipping and sliding around. It is fun, but I tell you what, it's going to be a challenge today. I think we got our hands full more than I've ever had in a Cup car. So looking forward to the challenge and seeing how the BB&T Chevrolet is going to be today.
And before we let you go, you know, Clint, we interviewed Matt Kenseth before the race in California on the headset interview on our pre-race show. He won that race, and then last week we interviewed Kyle Busch on the headset in the pre-race, and he won. So we expect you to come through today. You keep the streak alive?
Don't let us down.
Yeah. All right.
Don't keep it to it.
No pressure. All right. Don't drink to that. All right. And we appreciate the driver of the 33 car. We'll be watching Clint closely today. Here's what's coming up. We're counting you down to the start of the race. This is what's around the turn. Former champion Bobby Labonte racing toward the head of the class. This week he went back to school with one lucky student. Kyle Busch, we mentioned, big moves on the track, major moves in the standings. We'll check in with Kyle. And Digger on the loose, a new episode of The Adventures of Digger and Friends. All that, plus a sharp-witted round of gas and go. It's NASCAR on Fox from Atlanta. The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Claritin Allergy Products. Live Claritin Clear. Live in Atlanta, Jimmy Johnson trying to become the first driver to win 4 consecutive Cup championships. He's won here in Atlanta 3 times. And you know, one of Jimmy's proudest possessions is his custom 67 Camaro. Lowe's is giving fans a chance to win a Camaro of their own. Enter now at LowesRacing.com for your chance to win an all-new Camaro and a garage full of Kobalt Tools compliments of Lowe's. Bobby Labonte has won here in Atlanta 6 times. This week, he won the devotion of a 5th grade from a nearby school. 11-year-old William Starr wrote an essay that helps promote internet safety for children. His reward was to be driven to school by one of the judges from the essay contest, Bobby Labonte, who showed he is smarter than a 5th grader.
Hey there.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Are you William?
Yes, sir.
All right, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, you ready to go to school?
Yes, sir.
All right. I picked up Will this morning at his house, and he missed the school bus, so luckily I came by and picked him up, brought him to school. All right, this would be embarrassing to hit something.
So, how'd you get into racing?
Holy cow, look at all that.
Probably one of the funnest things I've done in a long time.
I would love to be Will. I mean, it would be cool to have a NASCAR racer pull up in my driveway waiting for me to come out.
I'm already kind of popular, but this made me like big popular.
It was cool, you know, I mean, it was cool for me, so it had to be, hopefully it was cool for him too. I know we're 3 races into it, only 3 races into it, but you know, so far the season's going great. I mean, you know, each week we keep getting better. We had a top 5 last week in Las Vegas, so we know we can win here. I know I can. I mean, you know, so we just have to really go out there and just hit our marks just right.
I would really like to thank Bobby a lot because he really made this happen for me.
So keep up the good work.
Okay.
NiceofAsk.com to do its part, and for Bobby Labonte, internet safety, obviously an important issue. Bobby now worried about winning a race here.
Yeah, he is, and he had a real emotional offseason. I mean, he didn't know what he was going to do. He had no job. This deal right here didn't come together until January, and that's a real nightmare for a race car driver. Be sitting around all winter long not knowing where you're going to be or what you're going to do.
Yeah, you're right about that. I got a chance to talk to Doug Yates, owner of this team, and he said that Bobby Labonte had something to prove, and right now, guys, he's definitely proven it.
All right, Kyle Busch has proved a lot to all of us. He's actually just 12 years older than the 5th grade student William Starr. And Kyle's done his homework, winning Atlanta last year. The Las Vegas native added his 13th career win last week, but his first on his home track.
You're in Vegas, it's showtime, baby. Look at that 18 car.
He is shot out of a cannon. Wild Thing is going to win again.
Good job, buddy. Hometown win.
Victory Las Vegas. One more time.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Well, rowdy and Vegas are two words that have gone together for a long time, but it was a year ago here, Kyle, that you brought Toyota, that 18 team, back to victory lane. Win at your hometown track, that win. How do you compare the two?
Oh, they're both pretty big. You know, I think last week's was a little bit bigger, though, just being able to be in the hometown. And, you know, it was just a great weekend overall. And last year being the first win for Joe Gibbs Racing, of course, that was big, too. But, you know, we look forward to hear this race today and see if we can't get our M&M's Camry up there again.
All right, well, bad news for the competition. He's 1 for 1 this weekend. He won the truck race yesterday.
All right, thanks, Krista. And yeah, he's in the Nationwide. I mean, does that ever become too much for a driver where it gets in the way of your overall success in the Cup Series?
Baby, when I'm hot, I'm hot. And I want to roll. I want to go. I want to race every day. I don't care where it is or what it is. I want to be in that race car. Young guys like that, race car, race car, race car, race, race, race.
Well, we know he's a wheelman, Darrell. I mean, there's no argument about that. He is one of the most talented drivers out there. Jeff Gordon has already pretty much summed it up. He'd love to have his talent. But the key thing is right now, we get down to the playoffs, can he make it happen? He's good during the regular season, but during the playoffs now, I think it's what we're all going to be watching for.
Yeah, pacing yourself, but you win while you can. Time for our NASCAR News Watch. And NASCAR track owner Bruton Smith wants the Sprint Cup season finale switched from Homestead, Miami, to one of the tracks that he owns, Atlanta or Las Vegas.
Or maybe Kentucky.
That's Darrell's point of view. And also this week, three-time NASCAR champ David Pierce of the Silver Fox. His 21 Wood Brothers Mercury brought out of retirement to celebrate 50 years of racing at Charlotte for the upcoming Coca-Cola 600. And our own Larry Mack paid his annual visit to the Weather Channel here in Atlanta. Larry was on the air live broadcasting this weekend's weather. Did a nice job of bringing us a good forecast. He said, tighten up those barometric pressure things. Oh, no, that's for the start of the race. Time for Gas and Go. They're on the clock. We ask questions.
Good luck,
they have
buddy.
answers, and these questions.
I don't need luck.
No one knows the contents. They have been locked away in Charles Barkley's jail cell. All right, we can't, because we can't. He's a buddy of mine.
But only for 3 days.
Darrell, at age 50, Mark Marty has the pole. It's been a while since he's won. He's got a couple DNFs this year. What about Mark today?
I think it's the car, really. If the car stays together, Mark can get the job done. There's no question. He has the experience. He's smart. He knows how to run these 500-mile races. Yes, he can win today.
All right, his last
His engine don't blow up.
Kansas 2005. Jeff, David Ruderman, we saw him a little bit earlier. Maybe one of the bigger surprises this year. Unexpected, or is this about what you expected?
No, honestly, I was surprised because, I mean, I knew he was getting better, but this is a big step. And right now, I feel like he's under a lot of pressure to perform, but I think he's very comfortable doing it. So I look for him to stay there.
Fourth last week for him. Darrell, a good finish last week at Atlanta for one of, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s efforts and his slow start, but this is one of his better tracks. What will we see out of the 88 today?
What we better see is a win. He's got to win. He's got so much pressure on him right now. People are expecting him to win. He wants to win. There's his boss right there saying, and I guarantee you that's what Rick is telling him. Dude, get up on the wheel today. This is your kind of track.
Rick Hendrick right there. Junior won it in 2004 in Atlanta. Jeff, this is our Ask.com question that comes from a viewer. We appreciate that. What makes the Atlanta track so fast compared to some of the other tracks?
I think a lot of it has to do with you got 24 degrees of banking, you got 5 degrees of banking both in the front straightaway and the back straightaway, and the transitions in and off these corners allow these guys to really get aggressive. And if we'd like to say, Darrell, you can drive it all the way down to the bottom. You see Elvis and pick it right back up and go out the other side.
And you can go 190 miles right into the corner.
190 mile an hour faster.
At least.
Get it done.
Darrell, why isn't Carl Edwards as dominant so far as he was towards the end of last year?
These cars continue to evolve, and every time you get an advantage, everybody seems to catch up with you. I think the competition is caught up with Carl, and Bob Osborne, his crew chief, got to do a little bit more work on the car, but he'll get the job done today, I promise.
Last year, he won 3 out of the last 4 races to wrap things up. Jeff, for you, will we continue to see the engine problems? Toyota, Chevy, last week it was the Roush Fenway Ford.
I think we're going to be okay today. I really believe that a lot of guys, as far as Toyota is concerned, and especially the Roush Fenway group, again, Doug Yates told me they feel like they've backed it off this a little bit. The RPMs are not going to be an issue today, so I think we're going to be clean and green.
All right, Darrell, for you, Bill Elliott, David Reagan, Reed Sorensen, all Georgia drivers, who has the best chance or will finish the best in this race?
David Reagan. I mean, we're all just sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for that kid to win a race. Home track, we saw Kyle do it last week. Reagan has a good shot this week.
All right, real quick for both of you, we have an off weekend of racing next weekend. What are you going to do? Going to hang out? Change your oil?
I'm going to ride my horse and just try to get some work done around to my place.
I'm going to check into a Holiday Inn Express, and I don't have to tell you why.
And watch, get some rest, and watch.
He wants to get smarter.
There you go. And if you have a question and you want to talk to Jeff or Daryl about it, you can send in an email to askdw@ask.com, and then the question that we select will be asked in 2 weeks when we're broadcasting live from Bristol. As you head up to the broadcast booth, Daryl, you're always into numbers. You got a fun one for us today?
I do. Dale Earnhardt Sr. won here in 1995. He won 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 3 seconds in car number 3.
Wow.
And so you folks out there that do numbers, maybe y'all can find something that will line up for today's race.
He always gives us something extra to watch for.
Extra.
Have fun to the booth. We'll get with Jeff and his crew chief checkpoints when we continue, because Jeff Gordon and that winless streak. What about Tony Stewart as an owner-driver into victory lane, or Carl Edwards? The answers straight ahead on Fox. The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Get live radio broadcast, live in-car audio, and real-time stats straight to your phone with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. It'll change the way you experience the race. And we're counting you down to the start of the 500-mile race. The crowd soon cheering their favorites. Everyone rises here, though, as one community to participate in the opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Georgia State Patrol Honor Guard presents our nation's colors. Remain standing as Chris Patton, lead pastor of Southside Church of Peachtree City, offers today's invocation.
Let's pray together. God, we come to you, and first of all, we want to thank you for the brave men and women who are serving our country. God, we thank you for this amazing sport that we get to be a part of today, and for the talented drivers and crew members. We pray that you would protect them today, that you would bless this event. God, we thank you for the sense of community that NASCAR and Atlanta Motor Speedway creates for us today. God, protect each driver, each crew member, everyone that's involved today. And no matter the outcome, we pray that you would receive the honor and glory that you deserve. And we pray all this in the powerful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Stradivarius recording artist Richie McDonald.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Always a great scene. A week ago it was snowing here in Atlanta, some clouds, but mid-70s today, little chance of rain. We're going to start this race here in just a moment. Welcome back live. Your pole sitter, Mark Martin, as we're getting ready to roll here. Battling Dale Earnhardt Jr. These tracks coming up, he's won 6 of 7 tracks, including Atlanta ahead. Of course, Jimmy Johnson trying to keep that championship roll going. Atlanta Motor Speedway. What do Shaquille O'Neal, Ashton Kutcher, Jimmy Fallon, and NASCAR on Fox all have in common? They tweet. They're all using Twitter to stay in touch with their fans. And NASCAR on Fox has an official Twitter page where users can follow news and notes, learn about pre-race features, receive inside information, get opinions from the NASCAR on Fox broadcast team. To become a follower, log on to www.twitter.com/NASCAR_on_Fox. And let's now underscore things with Jeff. Have you got that tweeter?
I'm getting ready to say, Twitter right alone.
I've been called to twit before. What's on your Verizon Championship Racing checklist?
Well, guys, when you come to Atlanta, you got to think about the racetrack itself. And the first thing has got to be you got to watch out for the bumps. The racetrack's wearing out, but the bumps are really getting bad.
Yeah, the bumps.
The other thing, beware of penalties. We've been seeing it all year long. Last week, 9 speeding tickets were given out. 28 violations on pit road, so you got to worry about pit road problems. And then last but not least, beware of Kyle Busch. He's been on a tear here lately, folks. He won at Las Vegas. He won the truck race. He's won here last year. You've got to watch out for this guy because he's good.
All right, when there is a hot driver, can the rest of the guys team up against him or kind of leave him out on his own?
If they can catch him. If they can catch him. I mean, that's going to be the thing of the day right now. Can a guy like Carl Edwards or Jimmy Johnson or even Jeff Gordon, can they run this guy down and really give him what he needs?
All right, and what's been the buzzword in the garage today?
Edgy, man. This place is going to be slick, hard to get a hold of, and you got to really stay after it.
Jeff Gordon saying it'll be like white-knuckle racing out there today. It's a matter of survival. We're glad you're watching with us, so let's head down for those words we always like to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome Merchandising Vice President for Lowe's Home Improvement, Kelly Brown.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Fourth race of the year, high speed, high drama, in high def. NASCAR on Fox, ready to roll at the Kobalt Tools 500 from Atlanta. We've had 10 different winners in the last 10 spring races here in Atlanta. Kyle Busch trying to go back-to-back. Hasn't been done since Cale Yarborough in the late 60s. Before we head upstairs, the guys to call the race, the official welcome to the Kobalt 500. Let's hand it over to the driver of the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson.
Hey everybody, this is Jimmy Johnson. Welcome to the Kobalt Tools 500. We're expecting a lot of great racing today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Thanks, Jimmy, and hello, everybody. We're high above Atlanta Motor Speedway up in the suite level, ready to bring you 500 miles of excitement with 12 former winners in this field. Larry, caution flags here are a crew chief's best friend, but they tend to come in clumps, separated by long runs of green flag racing.
Yeah, Mike, as I watched the 2 practices yesterday, nobody was happy with their car in happy hour. Everybody was sliding around. So if your car's sliding around a lot, yeah, you want to see that caution flag where you can get the pit road and get this car adjusted and 4 fresh tires. You go back last week to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, complete opposite strategy here. Every chance you get, you want to come to pit road to get 4 fresh tires. Where the strategy comes, these guys can run about 54 to 58 laps on Sunoco race fuel. I don't think you want to stretch the tires that far. Once a car hits pit road, you can't be far behind them because you'll be about 2 to 2.5 seconds slower than somebody with fresh tires.
Darrell, we know who the usual suspects are, led by Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, but who are some dark horses to keep an eye on today?
Well, yesterday we had 2 practice sessions here, like Larry said. The morning session was kind of cloudy, overcast, cool, and there were some usual suspects, as you said, at the top of the practice sheet. But that second one was in conditions like we got right now. And there were 2 names that kept popping out in the first session and over into the second one under both conditions: Juan Pablo Montoya and David Stremme. Those 2 guys were consistently at the top of the speed chart in practice, along with the guy we're going to talk to here in a minute, Carl Edwards.
All right, let's have a look at the Kobalt starting grid for today's 500-mile race. Mike Bliss makes his first start of 2009 in the Cup Series. He's a regular in the Camping World Truck Series. Joey Logano, the rookie, back there in row 21 with veteran John Andretti. Bobby Labonte off a fine 5th place finish with one of the hometown heroes here, David Reagan. A.J. Allmendinger's made every race this year. He's had to qualify for every one, along with Tampa's Eric Almirola. Bill Elliott, by far Georgia's favorite son in a stock car, and Sam Hornish Jr. Marcus Ambrose, strong season for him, and Paul Menard in the 17th row. Row 16, Reed Sorensen, another Atlanta area native, and David Gilliland makes the show once again. Carl Edwards starts deep in the field alongside his Roush Fenway teammate Matt Kenseth.
Let's see if we can get Carl. Carl Edwards, it's a DW Fox Sports. Got a copy, buddy?
Got you, DW.
Carl, you won practice yesterday, but you're starting pretty deep in the field. Have you got the car that can win this thing today?
I think so. You picked me, didn't you?
Like every week. I always pick you, buddy.
You got a copy, DW?
Yeah, I picked you. Go ahead.
Just checking. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. We were pretty fast yesterday. They said they got 100 or 1,000 Aflac employees up in the grandstand, so I better do well. And I just think it's going to be a good show. I mean, the track's slick, cars are hard to drive, sun's out, and I hope we can make it to the front. It's a fun racetrack.
Yeah, buddy, I agree. And just think Eldora or maybe DeCoin or Springfield, Illinois, or some of those old racetracks that you love back up in the Midwest.
It's cool. We'll be searching for some sort of cushion today. Hopefully it's not that big, hard, white one at the top of the track. I hope we can keep it going the right direction.
All right, my friend. Good luck to you. And I really did pick you. You're my pick, so don't make me look bad and make yourself look good, too.
All right, man. I hope so. Thanks, DW.
There's your front row. 50-year-old Mark Martin wins his first pole since 2001. He's the second oldest driver ever to win a pole for a NASCAR Sprint Cup race. Make it a great race day with a perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
Let's take a look at our FedEx Understanding the Race. We've looked at the last 8 spring races here, NASCAR on Fox, and on the average, we have 7 cautions per 500-mile race here in the spring. Normally, the first caution will come out somewhere on the average or lap 55, but 3 times in the last 8 races, we've had 1 to 2 green flag fuel runs before that first caution actually came out. The longest green flag run, average 95 laps. That's almost a third of this race. All 8 races have had at least 1 cycle of green flag pit stops. In the last caution period, roughly around lap 287 of this 325 lap race, roughly 35 to 40 laps to go. We always get that caution.
In the last 10 Atlanta races, no one has started worse than 11th and gone to victory lane. A look at Denny Hamlin, who many think is a favorite to win here today. Let's go up and down pit road, beginning with Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, Jimmy Johnson has 3 wins here in a good starting position, 7th. But his crew chief, Chad Cannell, says this race is about survival. So how about a little strategy for that 48 car? They took pit stall number 43, the very first pit coming out of turn 4. Dick Berggren.
In 2001, Kevin Harvick scored a dramatic upset win in only his 3rd ever Sprint Cup start here at Atlanta, driving the car the late Dale Earnhardt would otherwise have driven. In the fall of 01, he finished 3rd. No top 5 Sprint Cup finishes for Harvick since then, but yesterday he led more laps than any other driver in the truck race, finished 2nd. He starts 10th today. Matt Yoakum.
Dick, Denny Hamlin hasn't gone to victory lane in almost a year. He qualified 6th. He wasn't the fastest car in final practice, but when you look at what the teams use as far as their data called Lap Tracker, he had one of the very best race cars. In fact, he told me the car had such a great feel all the way through the corner. And he said it's the best car I've ever had here in Atlanta. And this crew guy says that's great because the last time he said that about a great racetrack, it was Pocono, and he dominated and went to victory lane. Krista?
Well, Martin Truex was in extreme pain in yesterday's final practice. After a scan at a local hospital, it was discovered he had a kidney stone. He was released from the hospital around 5. The stone released itself around 10 p.m. He called his crew chief Bono, said, "I'll be good to go for the race," and then he had some dinner. The team had Ron Hornaday on standby just in case. If you've ever had a kidney stone, you probably had pain medication. In order for Martin to race today and be cleared, he could have none.
Well, that's a tough race weekend when the hardest thing you have to pass is a kidney stone.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure that wasn't on the agenda.
Ready to race in the Kobalt Tools 500 south of Atlanta, Georgia. 325 laps, and they'll have to pit for fuel every 54 to 58 laps, as Larry said, but maybe in a little more often than that. 4 tires.
You see David Reagan going to the rear of the field for an engine change. DW, it's fast, it's hot, and it's slick. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
All right, easy, boys. Easy, easy. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Fifty-year-old Mark Martin's going to bring him around to lead lap 1.
I got a fast car.
Mark has been fast in every single practice session here, almost like he was in Las Vegas last week, and he backed it up by sitting on the
car in the wall, turn 1. Toward the back of the field, and it's the 43.
Man, I think
Reed Sorensen.
You know, that had a look of it. The same thing had happened to him at, was it Vegas? When the car just took off?
Yes.
Either something broke on the left front, the suspension.
Something, this is the same thing that happened to him. Actually, I think it was California.
In practice.
In practice. The car, look at the car. It just dives. It's almost like it sets on the bump stop and then shoots to the right.
And then won't turn. As soon as it gets down on the bump stops, it stops turning.
Exactly.
But you're right. The same thing happened to him in practice.
In practice in California, yeah.
So Peachtree City, Georgia's
serious damage on the right front.
Will be headed for pit road. Quickly, we're under caution.
Kobalt Tools 500 out of Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's, let's build something together. By Sprint, get NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile only from Sprint, only on the Now Network. By the all-new 09 F-150. It's not just a new truck, it's a new F-150. And by Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Caution at lap 3. Reed Sorensen goes off into turn 1, and as the car settles down to go into the corner, it stops turning, and Sorensen's Dodge bites the wall. Kyle Busch has now won 13 Sprint Cup races at 13 different racetracks. Remember that as we ask today's Aflac trivia question.
Aflac!
Who else did just that and won the first 13 races of their Cup career at 13 different racetracks? We'll let you ponder that one while we get ready to go green. Mark Martin, Kurt Busch, Jamie Mack, Greg Biffle, Juan Montoya, the top 5.
You know, Mike, Jeff Gordon holds the record for the most Sprint Cup Series wins before the age of 25 at 15 wins. Kyle Busch doesn't turn 25 for over a year, and he's got 13 already.
Ready for our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear indoors and out.
The car really on the move when they dropped the green flag was Ryan Newman in that 39 car. He started back in the 12th position, but he got up to the high side and he was passing about a car every corner.
See, what happens is on these starts, everybody fights for the bottom. And if you're brave enough and you're bold enough and your car's good enough, you can pass a lot of people up on the outside early in this race.
And he is, and he was. We're back under green. Kurt Busch goes for the lead. Jamie McMurray behind. Here comes Biffle, the 16 on the outside.
Boy, I tell you, that 2 car has really come alive this year. They have stepped up. Pat Tryson and that whole crowd.
Great job, Kurt. Awesome.
Got the new engine. They got a new engineer over there. Kurt is really showing a lot of speed this year.
He timed that restart almost
perfectly, yeah.
He'll lead that lap. He'll get 5 points. Get 5 points for leading a lap in the race. Another car on the move is that car right on the bottom, that 11 car of Denny Hamlin. As I walked through the garage here this morning, we're riding with him down the back straightaway. Always try to get a feel from different crew chiefs. Who do you think's going to be the car to beat? A lot of fingers were pointing to this 11 car.
Yeah, he was real upbeat yesterday after practice. He really liked his car. Thought he had something they could go to the front with.
Reed Sorensen took his car to the garage. Dick Berggren's with him.
And it's a badly wounded car for the hometown hero. What sent you out?
We don't know yet. It's I don't think it was a tire. I felt something in the steering. It kind of went left a little bit, and then felt like something broke in the left front, but maybe in the right front. But whatever it was, it went straight in the fence. And you know, the speeds are so high here that it hurts the car pretty bad. So we're in trouble in this one, but we'll try to get it back out there and try to salvage whatever points we can.
He drove it in with the right front wheel at a 45-degree angle, Mike.
Wow. Now he'll stay in the top 35 even if that car doesn't return to the race. But after our next race, which is in 2 weeks at Bristol, Tennessee, then we use this year's points to determine the qualifying exemptions. And there are a lot of fellows down in the danger zone that have 2 races to rebound. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, today is a critical day because Bristol is so unpredictable. You go there, there's no insurance you're going to leave there with a race car, let alone a good finish.
Think about it, we take that week off next weekend and we do 2 short tracks back-to-back, Bristol and then Martinsville.
The one good thing about the short tracks, there are a few short tracks you can go test on to simulate, not necessarily Bristol, but at least your short track package.
Testing not allowed at any of the tracks where NASCAR's Sprint Cup Nationwide or Camping World Truck Series competes.
It's about 50 racetracks that it affects that you cannot go test at.
Kurt Busch out in front. Krista?
Mike, there were a lot of fist pumps down here in the 2 pit stall when Kurt had that great jump, and you heard him say that on the radio. Great jump, great restart there, Kurt. What you didn't hear was some other radio talk. As Kurt went flying by, they said, there goes the 2 car. Here we go, boys.
And Daryl, it's funny you mentioned about the testing. Certainly it would not have played a role in what they're doing here right now, but they were at New Smyrna Beach, Florida, testing this past Wednesday, Pat Tryson in the 2 group.
His car owner Roger Penske so successful in open wheel cars, and he's had a measure of success in NASCAR. Trouble turn 3. Bobby Labonte.
That will bring the caution out.
This is a guy right here, Bobby Labonte, I thought would have a great day. Coming off that great finish last week, 5th place at Vegas.
I am so loose.
I imagine you are.
And he's won here 6 times,
Yeah.
which is the most of any active driver. You'll see the 96 come into the picture.
He's up on the outside there. Just
right there.
The car just turns around right there. It's just like he said, really bad loose when you don't even hardly get to the corner and it spins out.
Boy, it was Marcus Ambrose lucky that car didn't slide up the hill.
Well, so was Dave Blaney in the 66. This thing just spins out.
Totally.
Keep going. Good job. Keep digging.
Now, one thing I see is that you see that black streak that's going through that turn on a hot sunny day like this. There's tar in those cracks. It's the overlap of the pavement. And that stuff gets mighty slick sometime when the sun's shining.
Digger, you better get back in that hole. Here he comes. Well, it was a close call for Dave Blaney in that 66 car.
Yep.
I would say, boys, if we were at Las Vegas, we could probably go to commercial break, but we're at Atlanta. We're on lap 12. I'm going to say pit road's probably going to be a busy place.
Kurt Busch, your leader. Let's see if they call him in, and if so, how many of these lead lap cars will pick? It's a long way back. 42 cars on the lead lap.
You heard Jeff Hammond say in the pre-race, this place has become like Darlington, and here they all come. I will guarantee you, for 4 fresh tires, Steve Burns.
Well, Larry Mack, Greg Biffle in the 16 car says that his car has become snappy. It's over-rotating on that left front. He said it's pivoting, so they'll make a chassis adjustment on the 16, Krista.
For Kurt Busch, he said just a little loose in, tight in the middle, but really good center off, and they feel like that is where their strength lies. 4 tires for the Blue Deuce.
Denny Hamlin pitting 3rd from the end on pit road. A slight chassis adjustment. Denny saying the car too tight early on, as the 39 of Ryan Newman will be the first car off pit road.
Tell you who had a good pit stop was Mike Ford, Denny Hamlin, that 11 bunt.
They did, but they were 3 wide coming out of the pits.
Looks like possibly Tony Gibson and that 39 car of Ryan Newman, they may have done something to gain them some track position, maybe just 2 tires.
Now, not everyone pitted. Joe Nemechek in the 87 will be our leader. Joe had a great qualifying run. He had to time his way into the field, 8th fastest. And that blue and yellow car without a major sponsor. So Nemechek, with the budget he's running on in a car that he owns himself, doesn't have the luxury of coming in to get tires every single time. He'd like to, because he kind of feels that pain right there in the driver's seat, right on the right cheek where the wallet sits. That's his race car, and without a sponsor, well, we'll see if he gets him this time.
But Mike, for a team trying to get in that top 35 you talked about, that's 5 points he just got. But he did get a little bit of help here this weekend. Unique story, Wayne Huckleberry, who supplies a lot of the food in the garage here. In fact, he goes to Charlotte and feeds the race team that sits on each pole. Wayne Huckleberry makes a great barbecue sauce. He's on that car this weekend.
Okay. So 13 places, 13 races, 13 wins. Kyle Busch has done that, and who else did? Beginning October 2nd, 1949, at the age of 35. One of NASCAR's all-time greats, Lee Petty. The streak ended in May of 1954, Sharon, Pennsylvania. At 40 years old, Lee won his 13th race and then picked up a race at a track where he had previously won.
Mike, we did get confirmation from the pits that Ryan Newman, 39 car, Tony Gibson, they did decide to go with just 2 right side tires. I guess we'll see how that works out, Darrell. I don't know. With what I've seen, I believe when I come to pit road, I want 4, but now's the time to find out.
I think I'll be okay for a while.
NASCAR on Fox is off next week. In 2 weeks, we return Sunday, March 22nd, the high banks of Bristol Motor Speedway. 1:30 Eastern time. And if we don't get enough action at Bristol, we'll go 12 rounds with a new movie. 12 rounds starring John Cena. Remember John from the Gillette Young Guns commercial last year where he wrestled Ryan Newman and all those other Sprint Cup stars? Well, he's the star of 12 rounds. Getting ready to restart. Green flag in the air at 15 laps after our second caution of the day.
Boy, that 2 car wastes no time. I mean, he just flew around the outside of Mark Martin. Here's Dale Jr. going down underneath the Elliott Sadler there. That car's moving too. It's looking a lot better than it did in practice yesterday.
Yeah, he was not very happy. These guys are battling back for about 17th, 18th position.
Ryan Newman, the Rocket, had such a pole winning streak here at Atlanta.
Man.
And here comes Kurt Busch. He wants the front spot from his former teammate.
He's got that outside off of 2 over there. He's got it going on now.
Started to talk earlier about Roger Penske and the success he's had. Roger flew in this morning. He is up on the roof as one of the spotters for his 3-car team of Busch, David Stremme, and Sam Hornick.
We've had a chance to talk to Kurt a couple of times last week, and he said that they had finally kind of pinpointed things that were wrong with their team. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little motor, a little aero, maybe, you know, just a little bit of everything. And they started to eliminate some of those things, improved upon them. And man, that car is fast today.
Denny Hamlin, the 11 car. Remember, Ryan Newman in the 39 only went with right side tires. Denny Hamlin in the 11 battling now for second spot, bringing Mark Martin in the 5 with him.
Watching from Mark Martin's onboard camera.
I mean, Mark Martin just put 4 fresh tires on, and you can hear him already having to play with that throttle coming up off the corner.
Yeah, one of the things I always worry about those early stops like that with 12 laps when the caution came out, you'll say there's something wrong with the car, you're like a little loose, a little tight. The crew will adjust the car based on that little bit of information and almost inevitably go the wrong way because the track changes.
All right, here's Matt on Ryan Newman.
Mike, information and partnerships is a key to success in NASCAR racing, and their corporate partnership with Hendrick Motorsports really proved beneficial this weekend for Stewart-Haas Racing as both cars fought loose from the time they unloaded. Newman's car especially loose on entry. got a lot of information back and forth between the 24 and the other Hendrick teams, and really seemed to have helped as Newman's car has been tight from the drop of the green. The 2 tires, great pit call, got him track position, although he is sliding back now to 4th, but Newman pretty pleased with that 39 car now on the tight side.
And Mike, Darrell, that's one of those cars that needs a good run here. He comes in here 33rd in owner points. And like you say, after Bristol, it goes to the current owner points.
Just had bad luck. Car's really not been all that bad as far as performance goes, just no luck.
This is the race from 3rd on back as Denny Hamlin's chasing down the leader, Kurt Busch. And there is Kurt's younger brother, Kyle, last week's winner and yesterday's winner in the truck race, despite a late race restart where he only had 4th gear, let the rest of the leaders go by, and then kind of like Pac-Man just gobbled them all up.
Fell all the way back to 9th place with like 4 laps to go.
Darrell, did you see that 18 car, Kyle Busch, dip below the apron? And of course, the apron is a different banking than the actual racetrack. That car snapped pretty loose with him.
He was loose yesterday in practice. I guess they kind of like it that way, but it may be a little too loose right now.
You know, right behind him, need to update our points leader, Jeff Gordon, in that 24 car, started back in the 16th position. He was battling Montoya. There he is, the silver car this week, the 24 car. He was battling Montoya for 10th, and he got by Montoya and then drove away from him. He's moved up to the 9th position. Looks like old Big Daddy's got a pretty good car today.
Yeah, they've been on the mark this year.
This week, other than the black hood on Gordon's car at a distance, it's impossible to tell his car from Jimmy Johnson. Same color splitter, same color numbers, predominantly silver car. And Kurt Busch has now been out front twice.
Cut. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
Kurt Busch is the leader of the Kobalt Tools 500. He won here in October 2002 and has finished in the top 11 here his last 4 races. His 5th at California is his best finish of 2009.
And one thing I've noticed, we're talking about how hot it is today, which is really uncharacteristic of this place. They've dropped off 2 seconds off of their best lap so far today.
And Kurt has the fastest lap of the race so far at a 30.70.
And those 2 seconds is after only about 12 to 14 laps since we had that last restart.
I really think that the guys were anticipating this tire was going to be like the one they had last week at Vegas. I've heard a lot of guys say, man, this tire didn't turn out to have the grip we thought it was going to have.
I think the tire does. I think the racetrack doesn't have a lot of grip.
You know, you got to make a tire to work on this at this track. But I'll say this. I like the people they tested Vegas with. I question the guys they tested here with because it was a different group of guys, and that Vegas test must have been awesome.
Boys, I'm going to tell you a car that we have been following. He's almost hard to keep up with. Darrell, you talked to him on the pace laps. Carl Edwards in that 99 car, remember, started in 29th position. We're at lap 31, and now he's racing Jeff Gordon for 6th position. Just drove by Ryan Newman.
Well, he had this race won last year. I mean, he was driving away from everybody. Then he had the engine failure. So you got to, I'm sure if you're any of those Roush guys, well, anybody in the field, they got to hope that the old motor will stay together. And here comes 28 car down pit road.
Travis Quapple. They're going under the hood of that car.
One of the drivers who has always run well here at Atlanta, we thought might have a good day, is one Pablo Montoya, who started 4th, but Dick Berggren, he has slipped back to 14th.
Yeah, and he was one of the tire testers that Darrell Waltrip was talking about a few moments ago, Mike. Montoya scored his first ever oval track top 5 finish, and he did it here in this race in 2007. But the car has not been to his liking since the drop of the green flag. There are some parts of the racetrack where it's tight, some parts of the racetrack where it's loose. Montoya's job, find out the part of the racetrack where it's just perfect.
Well, the test here was done by Biffle, Montoya, Hornish, and Scott Speed. Scott Speed's a rookie with not a lot of experience. And you look at the guys that tested Vegas: Mark Martin, Strimmy, Vickers, and Edwards. So that's a lot of information that you're going to get from those guys.
Well, Darrell, NASCAR apportions the drivers to go to each of these tests based on 1 per manufacturer, and they rotate the drivers around so no one team gets any kind of advantage.
If I were Goodyear, I'd be saying, look, guys, we're going to go with the teams that can give us the best tires.
Let's check with Krista.
Mike, want to update you on the 26. Jamie McMurray started this race very good, qualified third on his pit stop, did not make any adjustments other than tires and fuel. He was very happy with this race car. Right now, though, he's dropping back because his car is getting very loose. He's already called for a major adjustment on the next stop.
McMurray started third, is running 13th.
Yeah, he's falling back some. You know, the car just out of the race, or they said he had a cylinder down, is the 28 car. That's a Roush Fenway engine.
Yeah, and of course they had problems last week with 3 of the Roush Fenway cars, and I can't help but remember in the gas and go in the pre-race, Darrell, that was one of Chris Myers' question. Did we think we'd have engine problems? I think a lot of people anticipated the pace was going to slow down, which brings the RPM down, and maybe we wouldn't have the problems we had last week.
Well, Quapple is out of the top 35 in owner points. He's only got 1 race to rebound before we start using 2009 points to help set the field. Carl Edwards continues his march toward the front.
Mike, I know you asked me at the top of the show that the caution flag was the crew chief's best friend. I don't think Bob Osborne, Carl Edwards' crew chief, I don't think he wants to see a caution flag because that car is good.
Well, I think that last practice was their best friend yesterday. Here's Matt.
And Mike just moved up to the 4th position. Now, Carl Edwards was surprised they didn't qualify any better than 29. The car was great in practice, then it was too tight in qualifying, and then too tight in both sessions on Saturday. They made a number of adjustments. It was free during the first run, but now it's gone back to the tight side a little bit, but he's definitely on the move. He also told Bob, and Larry Mack, you'll know this from your days being on top of the box. Information's everything, so you know how to plan for your next stop. He told Bob Osborne, I've dialed some rear brake into it so they know what he's doing inside the cockpit to help the handling and what they're going to have to do in the pit on their next stop.
Yeah, I mean, as a crew chief, you want to know what the car's doing at the beginning of a run. You want to know what it's doing about 30 laps into a run where we're at right now, and then you want to know what it's doing near the end of the run. That's information you need for later on in the race.
You know, that rear brake thing makes me nervous, though. You just get too much rear brake in any car, and it's going to lock those rear tires up and cause you to want to spin out. That's something a driver really has to concentrate hard on, not getting on those brakes too hard and locking those rear tires up.
And we do need to mention these cars have 2 master cylinders, one for the front wheels, one for the rear wheels. There's a knob that driver can adjust, a little more front, a little more rear. A little more rear will help the car turn, but as you said, Darrell, can get you loose getting in the corner.
Fine line.
10th place battle. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 tried to hold on to it, but could not hold off Kyle Busch, who moves into the top 10. Jr. and Ryan Newman fighting for 11th.
Ryan Newman's doing pretty good on those. Let's see, he got 2 tires right.
Right, at lap 13.
2 cars out of the race. Travis Quapple lost a cylinder, as you mentioned, in the 8's Ford. And in the James Finch 09, Mike Bliss is out of the race with overheating.
We anticipate that they're going to get that 43 car of Reed Sorensen back out there, as he said in his interview.
Kurt Busch with a 6-second lead on Denny Hamlin after 40 laps. Center of your screen is the blue deuce. Kurt Busch leading by 7 seconds, as today's aerial coverage is brought to you by DirecTV. Now get over 130 of your favorite channels in high definition.
Heck, I don't see where it's any different any other week. A Busch is leading.
Just a different Busch.
Now, top of the screen, Mark Martin. There are the positions: 3rd, 2nd for Denny Hamlin, and 4th in the lower right for Carl Edwards. Why do all these cars have clear track in front of them except Bobby Labonte?
You know what you know what we need on all those cars is an angle finder, because every one of them are sideways. They're going sideways through the corners.
That's another car that's making some pretty good moves right there. That 33 car, Clint Bowyer, comes in here 2nd to points. He just passes Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, moves him up to 12th. Had that great run on a great call by his crew chief Shane Wilson last week.
And let's go back behind the wall to Dick Berggren.
Well, last week, high engine RPM was blamed for several of the engine failures that we saw in Vegas. Travis Quapple is in the garage. Were you running high RPM today?
Same as everybody else, I think, you know. Just out of the blue, just kind of went down a cylinder, started missing. Don't really know, you know, why or what or anything. They're digging into it, but just disappointed. You know, we got Golden Corral on the car for Daytona and here, and we blew a tire early there with a great race car. We blew blew an engine here. It looks like with a great race car. I think we're gonna have a good day, but you know, these guys push these engines hard, and you know, I think this is my first one in 2 years, so I can't complain. But I just hope the rest of the Fords will hold up and have a good run.
Now, if the driver has to stick his neck out, Mike, the engine builder has to stick his neck out too.
Thanks, Dick. Kurt Busch has the fastest lap of the race. He has a 6.5-second lead on Denny Hamlin, and Hamlin is not eating into that lead a bit.
Now they're kind of just maintaining. Now right now Denny Hamlin is the top running Toyota, but another Toyota that's been making some moves is the 83 car Brian Vickers. Started back in the 17th position, finished 8th at Las Vegas. Remember, at Vegas, he was one of the Toyotas, had to go to the rear of the field because of an engine change. This is just the type of racetrack that Brian Vickers, even when he was driving for Hendrick Motorsports, he always liked the big 1.5 to 2 mile racetrack.
Yeah, he's really good at Charlotte and some of those places just like this. That guy's going to win a race. He's another one of those guys that we're all just waiting for him to win his next race.
There are Toyota top performers so far: Hamlin, Vickers, and Kyle Busch. Here's Steve Burns.
And Mike, Brian Vickers talking to crew chief Ryan Pemberton, saying that his car is just still a little bit loose when he gets on that throttle.
Thanks, Steve. Boy, Larry, it just seems you fight loose here all day long, and if you set the car up tight, all you'll do is just scrub the tires right off it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like walking on a tightrope. I just think these guys, they've got these cars turning so good now. They've got the front end working good, and then you add in how hot this track is right now with the loss of grip. I think that's why everybody all week long has been fighting loose.
Well, the turns are so big here, Mike, and so you're in the corner. The mile of this racetrack is corners, quarter-mile straightaways. So if you get it too tight, then you're just got the wheels cranked so long that you use up the right front tire.
It's interesting, after last practice yesterday, several drivers were asked about tires and about the race tomorrow, and some of the most prominent ones said, "I can't tell you because we haven't raced this package yet," and they were very reluctant to say what they thought the track would be like and what the handling characteristics of the car or the tire wear would be like. So it just sounded like an awful lot of uncertainty or skepticism about what they were going to see on the track today.
Yeah, I think a concern was the tires were not wearing. The tires are just getting, you know, they're just starting to skate after a while. That was a concern everybody had.
Starting to see some green flag pit stops. This is a little early, but this was one of the cars Sam Hornish Jr. in the 77 just went a lap down. They decided, hey, let's get the pit road and make this thing better.
25 cars are on the lead lap, led by Kurt Busch for Roger Penske.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
58 laps complete. Kurt Busch has led the most of them. He's led 48 of the 58. Only 2 cars have made pit stops under this green flag run, and they are both Busch's teammates. Sam Hornish and David Stremme have been on pit road.
And one of the things that always concerns me here at Atlanta, because it's a really fast racetrack, getting on pit road. Not just getting the car slowed down, but not getting run over when you're trying to slow down still up on the racetrack. So we got to keep an eye on that.
Scott Speed and Joey Logano, the Ray Vestas rookie battle for 2009. As you have a look at Logano, who currently runs in 33rd. Time for today's Home Depot rookie file. Here is Joey on his season's progress so far.
We came along a lot since Daytona. Me as a driver, I feel I've grown a lot. You know, just getting used to these cars, getting used to what I need in the car to tell Zippy and tell the guys to be able to work on the car. I think that just takes time to get used to these things. They drive so different than any other race car out there. So, you know, it takes a little time to get used to it. But I think after last week in Vegas, it gave us a lot more confidence, including the team and me. So I think we should be all right.
They ran all the laps last week. Mission accomplished. More of the same here as David Rudiman pits, along with Dave Blaney in the 66.
Yeah, I saw Dave Blaney in the 66. He was actually on the apron on the backstretch, like there may be a problem with that 66 car, Krista.
David Rudiman got on his radio and said, you guys have no idea how bad this car is. We need to make a huge change. Really, really loose. He said he had no side bite at all.
Thanks, Krista. The hood's gone up on Dave Blaney's car, so that may be a terminal problem. Reed Sorensen returns to the race with a lot of right side damage. Joe Nemechek pits, and here comes Matt Kenseth, the winner of the Daytona 500 and California the next week, for his first stop.
And you know what? I love the guys that are pitting on this end of the turn 4 end of the racetrack, because they looked at who they are pitting around. And if you look at that pit box down there, that end of the pit lane, the 48's got the first pit in. The 20, they kind of felt like he might go a lap down, and he did. The 83's there, the 43's out. There's some good opening pits there that they looked at probably before they made their selection.
I said that was Kenseth's first stop. His first stop in this green flag sequence, second stop of the day. Tony Stewart coming onto pit road, and Eric Almirola. Steve.
And Mike, Tony Stewart in the 14 car says, I lack rear grip all the way through the turns. He said, I'd rather be tight in the center than loose. Pretty big adjustments. Wedge, air pressure, and of course, 4 tires for Tony Stewart.
Casey Mears is in as this round of green flag stops continues. They pushed Dave Blaney's car to the garage area after closing the hood. John Andretti's also in, and Kyle Busch.
I think he tried to get to pit road and could not get on.
Jamie McMurray is in, so is Bobby Labonte and Michael Waltrip, and here comes Elliott Sadler. Krista.
Well, Jamie McMurray has been complaining of his race car being way too loose. He had called for a major adjustment. The crew's over the wall on the right side. Jamie's saying he's just skating around out there. They definitely were needing the tires on this stop.
Jeff Gordon, Scott Speed, Joey Logano, Dale Earnhardt Jr. all on pit road. And Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick in as well. Matt?
Same problem for Jeff Gordon that Dale Earnhardt Jr., his teammate, is experiencing. Just too free on entry. Jr. says he was backing up his corner, trying to help get the car to roll through the center and to be good on exit. But he says, I'm really losing a lot of time on exit. Krista?
Well, Matt, we had talked about how Kyle had no front and rear grip. He actually got on the radio back on lap 51 and said, when are we going to get this over with? Meaning he needed to come in for a stop. Steve?
Well, Krista, the problem for Brian Vickers, who as he sees already in his pits, is I am loose on throttle. That's the problem to clean off the grill as well, Matt.
And Denny Hamlin is in. Chassis adjustment already completed by the gas man Scott Wood. Denny said that the car, although he climbed all the way to second, like so many other people, just seeking grip any way he can get it. The 99 of Edwards coming in next.
We had a tire get loose on pit road, and that's brought the caution out.
Yeah, they've had to waive the caution because a mechanic walked out halfway out to the racing surface to get it. It's from Marcus Ambrose's car.
I'm going to tell you what, NASCAR is not going to be happy with that crew member at all. He was halfway across the infield grass. That's the reason the caution was out.
Larry, he wasn't 70 feet from the racing surface when he went out to retrieve that tire.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Just bad judgment. He thought he was
there
probably.
You see the
he
tire
thinks
right
he was
there.
doing a good thing. We saw the tire rolling out there.
You can see it's halfway across that grass.
He's thinking it's going to roll out in the racetrack, so I think he was obviously wasn't thinking clearly enough to know not to do that, but still he probably thought he was doing a good thing by retrieving it.
Well, back in the 60s, photographers used to stand in that grass to shoot pictures of the race cars going around. That was a long time ago.
Let me tell you what this caution has done. We only have 6 cars on the lead lap because a lot of our guys up front, like Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, Martin Truex Jr., Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, they had not made their green flag stops yet.
Denny Hamlin will be the recipient of the free pass. And yes, this caution flag caused by a crew member entering an unapproved area has left us just a handful of cars on the lead lap. Wow, this changes everything.
What will happen, though, a lot of the cars, here you see Kurt Busch come to pit road, a lot of the cars that just made their stop, they're going to stay out, and they'll be at the tail end of the lead lap.
So here comes Kurt Busch, who has already led 58 laps today. Krista?
Well, Kurt Busch and his car they have changed a little bit. It was just loose in. Now he says his number 2 is a little loose off also and tight in the center. But he's actually pretty happy with it. He said it's doing a great job pivoting the right front. Track bar is the change. Dick?
Clint Bowyer had been running in the 9th position, but 6 people pitted ahead of him before the caution flag. That gave him 3rd spot. He has a car that is performing extremely well, Matt.
Carl Edwards was going to pit the next time by, and then the caution came out. Edwards reports to Bob Osborne as he comes to a stop in the box. It's too tight in the center. His biggest issue, though, loose on exit. In fact, another team spotter told his driver the same thing, that on the bottom, the 99 was not as strong. Bob's going to try to fix it. A little slow. They've got to get the jack up even more. Had trouble getting that left rear tire off. Long stop, luckily under caution, and not a lot of cars to deal with.
Well, they made a great move as Edwards was on pit road when that crew member ran out to retrieve the tire. And as the caution flag waved, they waved Carl right on through so he wouldn't lose a lap on pit road.
NASCAR on Fox, glad to have you with us live from Atlanta. 5 leaders, 5 lead changes. Time for an AT&T race break. Off the 3rd caution, the guys with the most laps, Kurt Busch at 59, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel, and the fuel problem apparently straightened out in the pits.
Yeah, it looks like he got a lucky break in two ways. Because of the fact the caution did come out and they got an opportunity to go in and work on it. But because of that caution right now, they've got a lot of the competitors a lap down.
Yeah, moments ago as we saw him pull in and the crew reacting.
Yeah, you see them right now. They go back and hook up, and the guys raise the rear deck lid so they can look inside to make sure of what is going on. And undoubtedly, like I say, it wasn't taking fuel like they wanted to, so they had an opportunity to look at it, try to work on it, and get it to where when it does matter under green flag stop, they can get the car filled the rest of the way up.
Jimmie Johnson cycling through, but nice work by him and Chad Knaus showing patience here and waiting this out, catching a break on that caution.
Yeah, Pat Tryson right there, he knows when he's leading the race and got as good a race car as he does, you want to make everybody else stop in front of you. So does Chad Knaus. This way, when it would all kind of played out and the caution came out, well, they were ahead of everybody.
And how about Martin Truex Jr.? Not enough can be said. Passing a kidney stone last night at a hospital. I mean, to sit in a car for hours, not fun, but cleared to run and doing a pretty good job working himself up here.
I was going to say, it looked to me like he's got some really good medicine working today, because right now he has really worked his way up through the crowd, and he finds himself in 3rd position right now.
Running right behind Jimmie Johnson and Clint Bowyer. Carl Edwards currently running 4th. Hey, don't forget Major League Baseball this spring on Fox. It's the place to be every Saturday. A lot of news with what Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez have been going through. Join Saturday afternoon baseball on Fox, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. They'll keep you up to date. It starts April 11th. And to vote for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year, go to your AT&T phone and text in the winner. Jeff Hammond will vote along with you. We appreciate that. And that has been an AT&T Race Break.
Well, here's the situation, Chris. 8 cars that had pitted under green stayed out and were picked up by the caution car. So they are on the tail end of the lead lap in front of race leader Jimmie Johnson. And they've called off this restart. They're going to go around one more lap.
One thing I don't understand is there's a bunch of cars up here that appear to be arguing over position here, and I'm not sure what's going on.
Tony Stewart in the 14 seems to be one of them.
And Mark Martin, I guess Mark's on the...
Stewart is on the tail end of the lead lap.
And if you're on the tail end of the lead lap, you have choice, but not when you're a full lap down and on the tail end of that lap.
What he means by choice, inside line or outside line.
I think Stewart thought he should have been the first car on the inside for this restart. Now Ryan Newman, another of the lap down car, his teammate, just in front. But there are 8 drivers in front of the race leader, who is Jimmie Johnson, because Johnson waited and made his pit stop under caution.
But I think Tony is right. I think if you're at the tail end of the lead lap, you have a choice of where you can start.
Well, you do, but a gentleman's agreement, courtesy, if you're on the tail end of the lead lap and the inside line is open, you should fall to the inside.
Yeah.
So Jimmie Johnson, our leader, is going to restart 9th in the outside row.
But everybody's goal up there at the front is to keep Jimmie Johnson in the 48 car as far back as possible, because he's the leader of the race right now.
And if the caution came out, everybody from Montoya forward would get to come around on the lead lap. And because the pace car would pick up Johnson as the leader.
This is always so confusing, and I never liked this. I wish there was a better way.
Green flag. Now Johnson's going to have to protect that lead from Clint Bowyer, but they're going to have to tiptoe through this race traffic. 3 wide already in 2 places.
I guarantee you, these boys, they got both hands and feet up on the steering wheel right now, trying to keep Jimmy Johnson behind them.
Yeah, how would you like to be the leader of the race and see all of that in front of you? What have I gotten myself into?
But right now, our leader is deep in the field.
Yeah, and he's running a pace as everybody else scrambles to stay up in front of him.
Well, he's just got to drive real cautiously. You know, he can't push it real hard. He's got to let that thing kind of sort itself out a little bit.
Now his teammate Jeff Gordon may have an issue. Matt, what's up?
Mikey runs in 9th, but a problem has developed in the 24 with the clutch on the stop. When Gordon put it in gear, when the crew members were working the left side, the car rolled forward, damaged the side skirting. They lost a little bit of time, but Gordon is going to have to change up a little bit his role on a pit stop. In DW, a lot of people don't realize how much as a driver you perform in that cockpit while you're sitting in the box getting ready to go.
Well, what happens is these clutches are hydraulic. They don't have a rod going into the flywheel like an old car. These things are hydraulic, and that fluid will get hot, and it won't allow you to release the clutch all the way.
Let's have a look at Michael Waltrip. Last lap coming out of turn number 2, the 55.
Got a little loose. Then he got a whole lot loose.
Almost backed right into Paul Menard.
Right.
Gosh.
Now, Michael Waltrip in the 55, he actually went a lap down on the racetrack and then went another lap down when he made a green flag stop.
Clear high. Just stay high. Clear to the middle if you need it.
That was the thing.
Clear low.
That was the thing about the way the 2 car was lapping everybody. You just couldn't afford to pit before he did. If you did, you might go a lap down. And here's Jimmy Johnson. He has got his hands full.
Well, he's trying to thread the needle between 2 cars trying to stay on the lead lap. Jeff Burton's 31 and Montoya's 42.
And all these cars on new tires, it's just hard to drive by them.
Now, who has just moved up into 2nd is that 99 car, Carl Edwards. We're riding with him. He just drove by Clint Bowyer, so he's now in 2nd. Carl Edwards started in the 29th position. Here he is. He's going to be battling for the lead here pretty quick. I mean, look at the run he got off turn 4 on that 48 car.
This has been Carl's racetrack ever since he showed up here. You got to work hard. You got to be in great shape. You got to be willing to sit there and saw on that wheel all day long. It's a lot like running a slick dirt track.
Well, Darrell, isn't his job right now a little easier than Jimmy's? Johnson has to move the traffic, has to get to the traffic and get him out of the way.
Yeah,
Carl can pretty much pick and choose.
Yeah, he can follow Jimmy through, but I don't think Carl will do that. I think he may try to just get on by and take care of control himself. Because I don't think Jimmy's car doesn't look like it's handling all that great. It's kind of sliding around a lot.
Now Kurt Busch is still in the mix 3rd, Clint Bowyer 4th, Martin Truex 5th.
Here he
and
goes.
Denny Hamlin 6th.
That 2 car is the car on the move. He has been all the way up against the wall as Carl Edwards. He takes the lead away from Jimmy Johnson, but may not have it for long with the way that 2 car is moving.
Look at that thing go around the top of that track. In the gas, coming.
Steve?
Well, Mike, DW talking about Jimmy Johnson's car. When that caution came out, Chad Canals told his driver, we're going to take a big swing at this to tighten you up. They put a spring rubber in the left rear spring.
And now's the time to make that big swing early in the race.
And that basically just puts more pressure on the left rear tire. It's just like jacking down on the jack bolt, but you put the spring rubber in, it should tighten the car up.
Now the cars that are in front of Carl Edwards right now that's still fighting to stay at the tail end of the lead lap. Mark Martin is up there in the 5, Brian Vickers, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, and Jeff Burton. He just put Montoya in the 42 1 lap down.
Ooh, Ryan Newman and Kyle Busch.
Just a little chuckle.
Hello.
Now, all of these cars are 1 lap down right now.
He said, you like plain or you like peanut?
That battle was for 18th place. Joe Nemechek has taken his Toyota to the garage. Here's a look at Junior in 10th. Now Tony Stewart is a lap down. Junior is on the tail end of the lead lap, Matt.
And Mike, he's working the bottom. Typically, we always see Junior at places like Atlanta and Michigan just rim riding the old Richard Petty, Harry Gant line. Junior has been loose almost from the get-go. And Junior said, going back to last year, the setup here is like apples to oranges, completely different. Trying something a little bit different that may pay off as they go into a different direction later on in the year. He says the mindset coming in, though, for this place, especially this year and with this tire, you've got to think like you're racing at the old Rockingham or Darlington Raceway.
Yeah, Junior said that the setup in his car this time is totally different than anything he's ever run before.
Kurt Busch has gone to second. He's passed Jimmy Johnson, or excuse me, to third. Clint Bowyer remains in the second spot. As after the caution flag, drivers trying to work their way back up to where they were under green. So Kurt is now third, 1.8 seconds off the lead.
You know what I want to explain right here, because it is very confusing, as Darrell said, is why is Kyle Busch, Ryan Newman, Tony Stewart that we saw racing, why are they one lap down and the rest of those cars at the tail of the lead lap? Problem is those guys lost a lot more ground through the cycle of green flag pit stops, and that put them behind those guys that made those pit stops under caution. That's the reason they ended up going a lap down, then they got passed on the restart.
Just take your time.
I kind of like the deal that some of the other series do, where when you get caught like that, you're sent on around and you actually start at the end of the field.
And then the pace car waits for the leader to set them up for the restart.
Exactly. Cleans everything up. It's not so confusing.
But that does kind of give those cars on the tail end of the lead lap quite an advantage getting to come around. It makes it easier to understand, but it would certainly change the strategy of the race. Darrell, take us around with Carl Edwards, the race leader.
Well, let's see where Carl is. Let's listen to the throttle. Watch the RPM. Trying to pass his teammate here, Jamie McMurray. And you can see how hard it is to get under somebody and complete a pass. Going down the back. It's not that long. Drop it down on the bottom. Try to ride that white line. Play with that throttle. Try to get back in the gas as soon as you can and slide up in front of that guy you're racing. It's just a lot of finesse, a lot of wheel, a lot of working the throttle. Takes a lot of finesse and a lot of energy.
11 cars on the lead lap, 5 of them on the tail end of the lead lap, hoping for a caution. Will they get one?
Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Viagra, by AT&T, your world delivered, and by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's. Let's build something together.
93 of 325 laps complete in the Kobalt Tools 500. Carl Edwards 1.8 seconds up on Kurt Busch. Atlanta Motor Speedway was featured in what movie about stock car racing? Get the answer now at ask.com and enter the ask.com NASCAR challenge. You could win a trip to Talladega from the official search engine of NASCAR.
I got a good trivia question. What president once worked here? It's good.
You're getting ahead of the show.
Oh, is it coming? Is that one of them?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was a great friend of Speedway Superintendent Alf Knight, who counseled him on whether or not he should run for president.
Wow, I didn't
Imagine
know.
that.
I didn't know that.
Guys, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in this 88 car is working his guts out right now, trying to stay in front of Carl Edwards in the 99, because remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of those cars at the tail end of the lead lap, and he keeps fighting back with this 99 car.
Well, he's now the one car in the free pass position, Larry. Not sure for how long, because Carl Edwards is now setting a pretty good pace, and that leaves us just 9 cars on the lead lap at the moment.
We got some little mini battles going on everywhere. These guys right here, Truex and Juan Pablo Montoya is right back there behind them. They've all been kind of wadded up at times.
I just don't think we can say enough about this one car and Martin Truex Jr. Jeff Hammond mentioned in the pre-race that the truck driver for this team had a heart attack. Larry Hart down here after he arrived in Atlanta. He's going to have triple bypass surgery tomorrow. And then the fact that probably just a little over 12 hours ago, Martin Truex Jr. had kidney stones. And about 10 o'clock, he passed the kidney stone, and here he is running in the top 5 after starting 23rd.
You know the good news? He passed it.
Yes.
That's the good news.
And also the good news is he's passed 18 cars.
That's right. I told you in the pre-race show, you need to pass a lot of cars now.
Well, Elliott Sadler may have caught a piece of the wall up there in turn number 2. It's a little hard to. Billboards begin to cast shadows over the wall in turn number 2. There's a number of cars up there that are oh so close to touching it. You see him there like Tony Stewart.
Now Tony's fighting right here to keep from being 2 laps down.
Now on that restart, you know who just took off away from the field? Our pole sitter Mark Martin. He was one of those tail end of the lead lap cars. But he has scooted away from everybody.
Well, you can see right there, Mike, almost a half a lap in front of Carl Edwards.
He gained 13 seconds on Carl Edwards working his way through traffic. It's 13 seconds from Mark Martin back to Carl Edwards, so Mark should have no trouble staying on the lead lap.
No, and he's going to, you know, he can actually get his lap back to Hardway, drive it up at the pace he's going. But that's the thing about.
Nice lap. That leader has not been faster than you all run.
That's true.
The thing about Mark is, right now you're seeing what he can do. If he was on the lead lap and the race was just going normal for him, he wouldn't be running this hard. But right now you're seeing what he can do.
He just ran a 33.58. Our leader ran a 34.07. That's a half a second.
Problem for Juan Pablo Montoya's car. Dick?
Flat tire for Juan Pablo Montoya, and right behind him, Bobby Labonte is liable to be pitting soon as well. He says he thinks the engine is in the process of blowing up.
That's another Roush Yates engine. We're riding with him here.
Let's listen.
I hear it. It's not missing, but it's got that intermittent kind of different sound to it.
Let's watch the RPM. We know this deep into a run, we probably should at least see 9,091. Let's see what kind of RPM it turns.
Oh yeah, it's flat. You can hear it going down the front here. It's pretty flat.
8,400.
Yeah, so it's definitely down
that's
RPM.
That's a broken valve spring. That's what they sound like when the spring breaks. Next thing you'll see is a little smoke out of it when the valve hits the piston.
So Carl Edwards is as much in command of this race now as Kurt Busch was earlier. Edwards has now led 21 laps.
Come up, boy, go.
We're under caution for the 4th time. Bobby Labonte spun down through the front straightaway. Dale Jr. gets the free pass, and pit road is open. Steve.
Mike, the 48 in, he said we've gotten a little bit tighter in the center and we've added a little grip, but we have got to be more aggressive. We can't stay where they are. More chassis adjustments for Jimmy Johnson, Krista.
Steve, for Kurt Busch, it's all about grip. Jay Hackney and Travis Johnson making the tire changes. Air pressure adjustment for Kurt. Dick.
Clint Bowyer pits out of the 3rd position for 4 tires and fuel and an adjustment to the chassis. It wasn't running well down low. Matt.
Service already complete for the 99 of Carl Edwards. He said his biggest issue, it was just way too tight on the bottom. Bob Osborne, small air pressure change in the left side tires to try to improve this 99 machine.
So 3 drivers who had restarted on the tail end of the lead lap stayed on the lead lap. Mark Martin, Brian Vickers, and Jeff Gordon. While Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the first car 1 lap down, he gets the free pass. Let's show you Bobby Labonte.
2 back coming real hard here. Outside.
Whoa. You know what? It looked like Montoya may have just sucked him around. He was so loose already. Down on power.
And remember, Montoya had fresh tires, so he was fast.
What a nice save coming through the grass, though, for Bobby to keep that car straight.
Watch this 42 car just kind of go right, pull him right around. And that's how much, and the reason this is a pass for the lead right here.
Yeah, as that was happening, Kurt Busch took the lead from Carl Edwards.
The reason that's possible, Montoya had new tires. He'd probably going 25 mile an hour faster.
lap down cars making pit stops now. And quite a group of those drivers who got caught on the last caution flag 1 lap down after making green flag stops. So a lot of work going on here.
A lot of adjustments.
Boy,
you saw the track bar being
cranking
adjusted
that
on the 18
Get
car
the air wrench out.
Mike, you mentioned Brian Vickers, one of the cars that actually got back on the lead lap. Also a penalty, too fast entering pit road. He'll have to start at the tail end of the longest line.
Look at the 7 car, middle of pit road. A mechanic had to come out to the center of pit road and retrieve a gas can.
That's still going to be a penalty because he left his pit box with equipment. You saw the NASCAR official already flag him, bring him back in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. He had the gas can and the catch can. He just drove off.
See that dry brake on the end of the gas can, like aircraft used to refuel without spillage, and you really have to pull on that to get it out of the car, and then Robbie took off before it was out. So Carl Edwards led most all of that green flag run right up to the caution flag when Kurt Busch took the lead away just before the caution. But our Ford Drive One moment today is all about Carl. 2005, where he recorded his first career Cup win. A bold move on Jimmy Johnson, beating Johnson to the line by less than 3/100ths of a second. Want to win a Ford Fusion? Log on to WeRaceYouWin.com to see how.
I remember him just turning that car sideways every lap. And, like turning it off turn 2 over there, smoking the right rear tire. I said, well, he's done. He'll never catch him now. But he sucked it up and drove right up there and got him.
Long stop there for Kyle Busch. You see the damage on the rear bumper, courtesy of Mr. Newman.
Newman. Yep.
Just what I needed. Oh.
Krista?
Well, similar situation in a way for brothers. We earlier in the race, you had Kurt Busch and his deck lit up. Same thing for 18 and Kyle. They said the car was not taking fuel like it should.
That's interesting. Yeah. You saw Bobby Labonte going into the garage area, that 96 car. So that's 2 of the Yates cars that are in the garage area we feel like with engine issues.
And Larry, you said that was interesting, but just remember, there are vendors that supply common parts to all these teams. And so sometimes one team has a problem, another team has a problem that's related.
Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again. 107 laps complete. Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards have been the stars so far, and we restart with 10 cars on the lead lap now. It's Montoya in the middle. Log jam right there.
Montoya's going nowhere except back.
Montoya is being shown in the 18th position right now, 2 laps down. We have about 7 cars that are 1 lap down.
Well, when you got 4 fresh tires, right now is when you got to do everything you can do, because the times will start to fall off after about 10 laps. So pass all of them you can.
Kurt Busch has gapped almost 1 second on Carl Edwards. With Jimmy Johnson 2.3 seconds back. Sounds like a good time for us to just crank it up. Edwards now eating into Kurt Busch's lead. It's down to about 3/4 of a second.
And what I like to hear, Mark Martin, he was kind of playing with the throttle as they went down the straightaway, giving Denny Hamlin room to get in if he was going to, and not put him in a bad compromising position.
You mean like the one the 77's in right now?
Yeah, that one.
You know what's going on with the 42 car, Daryl? I think this just goes to show you what even 4 laps more on your tires will do for you. When they came to pit road at lap 99 and the caution came out at 103, Brian Patty decided to leave him out there. That's one thing that's hurting him. He's got 4 more laps on his tires.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. That car was so good in both practices yesterday. And Juan loves this racetrack. He gets around here as good as anybody. Thought he'd be up front racing with the leaders.
Yeah, like Dick Bergman pointed out, he got his very first career top 5 finish here in his rookie season.
Looking at Kurt Busch and Carl Edwards for the lead, Busch is able to open up a margin on the straightaways, and he really gets a good launch off turn 2. But in the corners, that's where Edwards is eating him up.
Yeah, Carl is just able to run the bottom so well. Left side tires right down on the white line. Kurt, on the other hand, has had to go to the very, very top.
But those 2 lines right there, I know we're pretty much 212 laps from the finish of this thing. Those 2 lines right there is the reason, even in our 8 races of NASCAR on Fox in Atlanta, we have those great close finishes.
That and a caution with about 25 or 30 to go.
Just like our FedEx Understanding the Race told us.
That's right.
Krista.
Well, Mike, Kurt talked about that, about the line that his car follows. He said it's kind of become a trend for the 2 car to run a little higher. In fact, he ran a bit of a different line in qualifying, moving a groove up, and that line was a little slower through the corners, but better on the straightaways, just like you're seeing on the racetrack right now.
And plus, there's grip up there. I mean, if you can get right up next to that wall, that's just where some grip is. That's not so much down around the bottom.
Do you wear the tires any less, Daryl, by taking the long way around?
I don't think you do. I mean,
okay.
You got to get around the corner. You got to crank. So I don't think so. You carry so much speed off the corner, and then at the bottom you're digging around the bottom. So I think it's a trade-off.
That distance is about 4/10 of a second. 2 weeks from today, Bristol Motor Speedway, the high banks of Bristol, 165,000 fans, and tickets are available for the race at Bristol in 2 weeks. Come out and join us and see Sprint Cup racing short track style.
Banking about like Daytona and Talladega, but it's only a half-mile racetrack.
Yeah, I call it the cul-de-sac 500. That's what it reminds me of.
You know, Daryl, I know we're down in turn 3 and 4 right now, but one thing I did notice about Kurt Busch and the 2 car, that's about as high as you can go on this racetrack. And we'll see it the next time we get down to 1 and 2. Actually, turn 2, the top groove, is starting to get some shade from the billboards.
About 10 laps. That lap was 2/10 slower than your lap before.
But you'll see it right there. Obviously, there's probably more grip right there in turn 2. I know it's only a short distance, but there's definitely more grip there. The track's cooler.
So Kurt Busch has opened it up to a second once again on Carl Edwards with Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, and Jeff Gordon, the top 5.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by FedEx Racing. We understand every day is race day. By Sprint, get NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile only from Sprint, only on the Now Network. And by Amp Energy. Amp up.
123 laps complete here in Atlanta. Let's amp up with Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is now running 9th of 10 cars on the lead lap, about 17 seconds back of Kurt Busch.
One thing I noticed is the Hendrick cars are all running pretty good here as we watch Dale Jr. Got 4 of the Hendrick cars in the top 10. So all 4 of those cars are running really well. May not be handling really well, but they're running really well.
He got so loose you could hear the RPM spike up.
And the wheels are coming off the ground.
That was about half a turn of the wheel.
Yeah.
Over and back.
That's push loose. That's when you go push, 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 loose.
What are they saying about that car, Matt?
He was loose right before the last pit stop, Mike. Now Junior's complaint to crew chief Tony Eury Jr. is he's got a bad vibration. Telling Tony Jr. feels like that the vibration is coming from the brakes.
Yeah, we definitely have seen where these guys are using some brake here. In fact, we remember Carl Edwards was actually adjusting his brake bias on the car.
So many times on a super speedway like this, if you use the brakes and get them real hot, then these super speedways, they'll cool down. The rotor will cool down and warp. And every time you touch the brake, it'll make the car vibrate.
Kurt Busch, the leader, and the Penske team, along with the Gibbs teams, have had questions about how quickly the fuel is able to go into their race cars today. Jeff Hammond down at our Ford Cutaway car. What's up with that, Jeff?
Mike, it's kind of confusing, but let's try to explain it to you so you can understand what's going on. This is where the fuel receiver, where the fuel goes in. This is the overflow valve. If you look inside there, you'll see it's like block solid. You have to take the catch can, insert it. That opens the airway to allow the fuel to flow into it. And Mike, you were talking about the fuel receiver. This is something they use in the aircraft industry. It pulls back when you insert it in here. That makes it open up where the fuel can flow in. If there's a restriction as far as this overflow or check valve is concerned, that could keep the fuel from getting in there. To me, that's what these guys were working on. They were working in this area here. That's one reason why it wouldn't take fuel. If that valve is shut, it will not take fuel. So that's what I think they were working on.
And you know, Jeff, what's interesting when you look at the Penske cars like Kurt Busch, there was a race last year that all of the Penske cars, they had a new little apparatus back there for the vent, and all of them had problems with it in one particular race.
That couldn't be right now what's going on. Again, everybody's trying to speed up this part of it. And Larry, as you know, if you can get the car to take the fuel faster, the tire changers, well, if they can do their job, you can pick up a lot on pit road. And we all know you got to get these things full, though. That could really mess you up. And I mean, this gambling or messing with things back here may be what the problem is today.
Thanks, Jeff. Joe Nemechek back in the race after spending time behind the wall with brake trouble. Look at Sam Hornish and Bill Elliott in the Wood Brothers 21 limited schedule.
17th. Bill's running 17th.
Way better than where he started.
Not bad.
Started back in the 35th position. And what's so funny, Mike, and it's kind of what's great about our sport. It wasn't long ago, you know, you did the rookie file on 18-year-old Joey Logano. Here's Bill Elliott, 53 years old, 44 career wins. He won the championship in 1988. He's from local town Dawsonville, Georgia. He's making his 60th start here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, this is Bill's home track. Yeah. I mean, he owned this joint.
Five-time winner here.
Yeah, and you know, Morgan Shepherd won this race at the age of 51. So the way you have to run this racetrack, and particularly in this car, experience is one of your best friends here, I can tell you.
You know, I say this in a positive way. I just feel like the Wood brothers on the 21 car, being a single car operation, they're much better off this year doing what they're doing. A limited schedule. They showed up at Daytona. They were fast. They showed up here. They've got a good race car. I just think David Hyder and that group electing to go with a limited schedule is working out much better for them.
Well, that's what they did for years. And like you said, they got a great car. It's detailed out. They were bragging how great the car looked, brand new. Hyder's got a chance to make them nice. They show up, they race good.
Well, back in the day, the Wood brothers would run all the super speedways and the road course at Riverside, California, and they'd run one short track a year, Martinsville, just over the hill from their shop in Stewart.
Let's go now.
So Bill in 17th place. He's a lap down, as are about seven cars 1 lap down, and a whole group 2 laps down. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch 5 seconds up on Carl Edwards now. David Rudiman back in 30th place is one of those 13, make it 15 cars 2 laps down. Krista.
David Rudiman, we talked about earlier in the race how he was so loose he could barely drive the car. Well, they have more problems. Rudiman coming on the radio and talking about the motor being a little slow. They're actually down a cylinder right now, running on 7 cylinders, the Aaron's Dream Machine.
My goodness. That's a Toyota, and of course they've been having some oil pressure and oiling problems. I'm not sure what this is all about.
Remember, that car came in here 5th in the Sprint Cup Series points.
133 laps complete with Kurt Busch up on Carl Edwards now by 6 seconds. Today's aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to have DirecTV. 139 laps complete. Watch this 77 of Sam Hornish. He's fighting that car 3 laps down in 35th. He's the hardest working man in show business. There he is just in front of Michael Waltrip. Watch this.
Now you want a definition of evil? That's evil. I mean, nobody can drive a car like that. I think it's doing, and that's not the first time it's done it.
He's definitely got his hands. And just remember, when he turned off in that corner, probably well over 180 miles an hour.
It won't be that fast next time, I bet you.
Do what you can out there, man. 34.9.
34.9. 35 seconds around this track. And that's speeds we ran back in the 60s and 70s.
Spotter called in, said he thought that, oh boy, thought Hornish had hit the wall. He radioed back. He says, I didn't hit the wall. He says, I'm just loose.
They need to bring him in and work on him.
Oh, he'll be in soon.
One way or the other.
But Darrell, but still, to fight that car and to keep turning those laps with that car in yaw that much, that takes some talent.
Yeah. And the crew keeps telling him, just hang in there. Oh, yeah. Good grief.
Battling Scott Speed there. They are racing for position.
Yeah, they're both 3 laps down.
A lot of cars got lapped early when they had made green flag pit stops and a caution flag came out before pit stops had cycled through. That's why we have 7 drivers who are 1 lap down, and we have 12 drivers 2 laps down. Montoya on pit road.
This is a little early, but remember, he has not been to pit road since he made that green flag pit stop on lap 99. But it's still a little early. It's about 43 laps since he pitted.
And he is 3 laps down.
Can't take it anymore.
Let's check with Steve.
Mike, it seems like everybody is screaming loose in the race car. Jimmy Johnson says, I'm a little better in 3 and 4, but I am loose on landing. Matt?
Teammate Jeff Gordon's team, who runs in the 5th position, he says his car is just so loose he's lost the drive completely off of turn 2. Steve Letarte told him to go ahead and turn off the fan that's on the right front tire to try to build up pressure to try to change the balance. He also told Jeff, the way it's looking, we may be entering into a green flag stop scenario. If that's the case, wait until we have dropped the jack before you put the car back into gear and engage the clutch. That should take place around lap 155 to 160. Looks like their next window.
Yeah, we should be about 12 to 14 laps away from a pit stop. But that's interesting about the blowers. Each tire, they put a blower on each tire that's a lot like the blower where you blow the fumes out of your engine compartment on your boat. And they have a switch for each blower. If the car's loose, they'll cut the right front blower off. Just like Matt reported, that lets the air pressure build up more in the right front tire. If the car's tight, they'll cut the blower off the right rear. I don't think anybody has that problem right now, and that'll let the pressure build up in the right rear tire.
Kurt Busch 9 seconds up on Carl Edwards. Great battle right here for 5th. We'll pick it up when we come back.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Verizon Wireless. Get the inside track from Penske Racing and race analysis, plus highlights and high-speed action, all on VCast from Verizon Wireless, America's largest, most reliable wireless network.
We're about 12 laps from halfway and about 8 laps away from green flag pit stops. Once again, Sam Hornish, the first to stop in this green flag sequence. Kurt Busch, your leader, he's been out front for 107 laps in the Blue Deuce. The last time he led more than 75 laps in a Sprint Cup race was right here in Atlanta in October of 2007. He leads Carl Edwards by 9 seconds, Clint Bowyer by 12, Jimmy Johnson by 12, and Mark Martin continues to run just ahead of Jeff Gordon in that great battle that's been ongoing for 5th place. Pit stops coming up. Time for an AT&T race break. Chris Myers.
And Mike, interesting, Kurt Busch led 164 laps all of last year, and as you said, already on his 108th lap leading here. Jeff Hammond, as we get ready for these green flag stops, do you anticipate the same Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards combo?
Well, right now, I think our leader is really worried about what Robbie Gordon's getting ready to do. He's been bouncing it off the wall, and you see Eric Amarola, another car's a lap down. Kirk's trying to be real smart here right now. He's got a very fast race car, and I think he and Pat Tryson, they're going to try to make everybody stop if at all possible before they have to, just like they did in that first round, which they were able to get a lot of guys a lap down. But he is incredibly good here today. I mean, right now, he is just, I mean, basically, he's putting it on these guys.
The domination and the fewer numbers, as Mike mentioned, of cars on the lead, lap 10, coming from an incident a little bit early that kind of shook things up.
Yeah, it really has. But, you know, if we're not careful, I think a lot of these guys, they know they want to get to pit road. They want to get tires like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Denny Hamlin. But they're just barely ahead of the leader. And if they hit pit road and the caution does come out, they're going to be more than just one lap down. There'll be a couple of laps down. So a little bit of strategy playing out right now. But the key thing for Carl Edwards and for Kurt, along with Jimmy Johnson, especially Clint Bowyer, is everybody wants to make sure they don't stop any sooner than they have to.
And as you have been assessing throughout the early portion of the season, how are the drivers handling pit road, entering, exiting so far today?
So far, everything's been pretty good. We haven't heard of a rash of guys getting busted coming on and off pit road. I think they've been learning their lesson. They've got to be on top of their game here today, especially this guy. He got himself in trouble, you know, last week when he slid through his pit. So, but I'm telling you, this is a treacherous racetrack. And watch here a second on this last lap what happened to him. He was coming off before. You see the front of that car. I mean, it's kicking out back. I mean, the back and forth, the back end's kicking, I should say, almost getting outside safer barrier.
Jimmy Johnson hoping to turn things around early this season. And from your AT&T phone, text the car number for the pit crew you think will be the fastest and most valuable in today's race to 2258. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network.
That's right. And the thing is, right now, we talked about earlier at the top of the show, today it's been kind of edgy. And I think from watching some of these great shots we're getting from in cars as well as some of our great camera locations around the track, a lot of these guys have got their hands full.
This has been an AT&T race break. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
David Stremme jumps onto pit road and almost missed the commit cone. Robbie Gordon follows him in as the green flag stops continue.
This is working out. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch today, this race is working out perfectly for him. You know, the Dodge notoriously don't get great gas mileage, but today gas mileage is not the problem. It's who can get the most miles out of their tires. The way his car's handling, he can stay out there longer than anybody else, still run really good lap times.
Caution's out.
Uh-oh. Caution in turn 2, and that catches Stremme and Robbie Gordon on pit road.
I think we've got a piece of debris laying over there in turn 2 right now, is what I'm hearing.
And so our 9 cars on the lead lap will become 10. And there is fluid on the racetrack in turn 2. NASCAR has observers stationed all around the racetrack, and so somebody dropping fluid over there.
Yeah, we were right on top of probably a lot of cars coming to pit road for green flag stops. The cars that did not work out for.
They're sideways out.
There's a 77 car of Sam Hornish, Robbie Gordon, David Stremme, who were both on pit road when that caution came out.
Everybody is getting something to drink, man. They're glad to get a break here. And one of the things, you see how everybody closed their shield back down almost immediately? We learned a long time ago with a full face helmet, it keeps the heat off your face. All the heat off the engine and everything inside the car, man, you'd open up that shield and hot air would blow in there. You close it back down and your little air conditioner, which is up here on top of your head, it keeps that cold air blowing in there, not getting out outside of the helmet.
And the free pass car is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
That's the second time. Pit road is closed. You see David Rudeman, the 00 car, is coming to pit road. We're hearing that he may have been down on a cylinder possibly.
All right, well, while pit road is closed, let's get today's State Farm safety report.
Fire is one of the #1 fears of a driver. You can imagine whether it's a blown engine, a broken oil and fuel line, or a crash, fire is always a possibility. That's the reason for the gloves, the fire suit, as well as the shoes and the full face helmet. But you think about the cockpit area itself. It also has a lot of things built into it to protect the driver, along with the onboard fire extinguishers. So let's think about one of the areas that we're talking about here. Imagine riding around with a blowtorch, basically at 180 miles an hour. This fire retardant shifter boot keeps the flames away from the driver. Sometimes people like it hot, but drivers not.
Thanks, Jeff. Now pit road should be open this time by Randy Owen. Stopped by the booth to say hi. Lead singer of Alabama and a big race fan.
Yeah,
good to see him.
Always see him at the Talladega Hall of Fame dinner.
I see Dale Earnhardt Jr. all the way down on the apron. I see Elliott Sadler. Remember, we were right on top of green flag pit stops, and when you're at slow speed up on the banking, you're starting to run out of fuel. And we're only going to see about probably the 9 lead lap cars come to pit road right now.
Steve?
Jimmy Johnson said he's loose on landing, then the car snugs up, and then it wants to snap loose. So big adjustments to the left rear and the right rear, Dick.
Clint Bowyer is in as well. He had been running in the 3rd position. They're going to tighten the car up just a tad. The most important thing, no mistakes here, Krista.
Air pressure adjustment for the leader, Kurt Busch. It was going to be on the left side. Kurt and crew chief Pat Tryson decided to make it in the rears. Matt?
Carl Edwards says the car is just tossing the back end, the rear of the machine around too much, especially when he gets off the gas. Bob Osborne calling for an air pressure as well as a track bar adjustment. The 24 will beat the 99 off pit road.
Kurt Busch beats everybody off pit road. Clint Bowyer comes out second.
24 car, Steve Leclerc and that group had a good stop.
I tell you, that 2 bunch showed up with their work clothes on today, baby.
Good point.
When the car's working, the crew's right behind it.
Kurt Busch has led 116 laps so far.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Lowe's for all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, let's build something together.
We are right on top of halfway in the Kobalt Tools 500. What position's Digger running in?
He's still trying to dig himself out of the hole we got in earlier.
That's it. First in the hearts of kids everywhere. That was cartoon was a mixture of Talladega Nights and George of the Jungle today. It was pretty interesting. Getting set to go back to green with Kurt Busch in command of this race. 118 laps he's been out front. Carl Edwards has led 23. Clint Bowyer right behind Busch. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, and the other lead lap cars are Mark Martin, Brian Vickers, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Everybody else 1 or more laps down as we go back to green. Restarts here, just hold your breath. They're 3 wide all over the place.
And the way these cars are handling, of course, on new tires, they feel pretty good, but these things are dancing and they're all over the place, dancing with the cars today.
You know, a guy that just moved into 2nd place, that 24 car, Jeff Gordon, just drove by Clint Bowyer. Remember, he was one of those cars fighting to get back on the lead lap not that many laps ago. I believe that 24 car is going to be a player before it's over with. And in fact, his teammate Jimmy Johnson, the 48, he just went by Bowyer as well as Carl Edwards in the 99. That's going to kick Bowyer all the way back to 5th spot.
Bowyer's car seems to run better after they run a little while, unlike a lot of these cars. His seems to get a little bit, maybe doesn't get any better. It just doesn't fall off like some of the others does.
This is a wad of cars right here. The only lead lap cars that are still in that pack right there, Denny Hamlin in the 11, and you saw Martin Truex Jr. in the 1. In fact, we're riding with Denny Hamlin, looking over at David Reagan, who is actually 3 laps down in the 6.
Reagan has been absolutely about to wreck.
3rd place at stake here. Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards. Boy, the battles they've had on this racetrack.
All the way to the end, they've had battles.
Just you and him.
What happened to Clint Bowyer backing up there, Dick?
Well, before that round of pit stops, Clint Bowyer had told his crew what he wanted them to do, and he said, no matter what, don't hurt the car going off the corner. Guess what?
The car going off the corner.
Bingo!
Did I ever tell you about what annoys a driver?
On several occasions.
Let's get some strategy from the 10th place car. Here's Matt.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief, Tony Eury Jr., he was complaining about a brake vibration. You worked on the left side. What'd you do, Tony?
We had to come in and tighten the wheel up. I mean, it basically left the wheel out, loose there. So it's unfortunate, but, with the new rules that we have this year, and it be a little longer, it's pretty tough on the tire changers to make sure that those are loose, especially with the glue and stuff. But, we're going to be all right. We might have to put another spacer on it to take care of it. But, the biggest thing right now is just get the car tightened up where it can go.
And they added one wheel spacer, Larry Mack, on the left rear on that stop. They thought it was the right rear, and Tony Eury Jr. spotted it right from on top of the pit box what the problem was.
I think I don't know if Jeff Hammond down in the garage there has the new stud length that NASCAR has mandated this year. They've made them go to a longer wheel stud, and it's really messing up the timing of the tire changers. They've been used to kind of zip, 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 zip. They kind of had a timing in their mind, and you got to stay on a little bit longer this year.
Yeah, just think back to all the loose lugs, loose wheels we had last week at Vegas. Now, we're riding with Casey Kane. We've been watching him. He started in the 13th position, but he was one of the cars that fell victim to that caution that came out right in the middle of green flag pit stops back around lap 66 to 73 right in there. He's got a good enough race car, I think, running the top 5. He just needs a caution to get that lap back.
Yeah, he was actually gaining on the leader there just before that caution came out. I thought he was going to drive up and get back on the lead lap by himself, but then the caution flew. Still got a really good race car today.
Yeah, Kane is likely the best car here that is not on the lead lap at the moment. He is, however, in the free pass position if a caution should come out.
And you see there, he just goes by Bowyer,
who is the 6th place car.
He's been riding that high line. It's really been working for him to perfection.
This is a wad of cars right here, but I'm going to tell you what, there's a couple of cars in there, especially one. That's 71 car of David Gilliland. This is a single car operation. They do buy their cars from Richard Childress Racing. They get their motors from Earnhardt Childress Racing engines. Great run at Las Vegas last week. I talked to the owner, Kevin Buckler, of this car yesterday, and he said, you know what? We're just trying to come in here and do things right and just have solid finishes, and of course the goal be in the top 35 after Bristol.
Gilliland started the season with a contract but no ride. He was contracted to Yates Racing. They didn't have anything for him to drive, so they released him, and he hooked up with the Racers Group and having a good run. Now this is Clint Bowyer surrendering 6th place, maybe, to Brian Vickers in the Toyota, and here comes Denny Hamlin. Meanwhile, for the lead.
And we hadn't had a lot of battles for the lead with Kurt Busch, but Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, our points leader coming in here, goes to the bottom of the racetrack. He wants the lead.
They've just got this year, unlike any year before, the 24 bunch, Steve Letarte and them have figured out how to make the car better during the race. When they need to make the right changes, they're doing it this year.
But I think the 24 car is better, but we had the pleasure of sitting down with Jeff Gordon. I think Jeff Gordon is on his mark as well this year.
Yeah, I think he's more comfortable with his role, not just in racing, but in life in general. He's a husband, a dad. He's working out. He's in good shape. Really all paying off for him.
It's almost as if as they went into the second half of last year, they thought the wins would come to them, and he realized he's going to have to go out and fight for them, and that's what he's doing this year.
I just think, I always think back to Jeff Gordon, how he won championships under the old point system, or under the structure of the old point system. Just don't beat yourself, hang around, get those good top 5 or 10 finishes. Doesn't work that way anymore. Got to get out there and win some races.
But look at these guys. We got 151 laps to go. Look at him, and look at Gordon get loose when he moved up the racetrack. Got to regroup here now.
Yeah, right.
Kurt Busch retakes the lead.
Maybe I didn't want that lead as bad as I thought I did. I'll just fall back here.
And Carl Edwards is about 1.5 seconds back. Now Jeff Hammond can show us the new NASCAR mandated longer wheel studs.
Yeah, Mike, let's take a real quick look. This is the way the guys used to do it all the time. You just barely see that when the nut is tight, you don't see any threads. This year, look at the other stud. You can now see the threads sticking out past the nut when it's tight. And you got to understand, a lot of these tire changers, they've been doing it the old way so long, they've got a rhythm down. they don't get a wheel tight. And that's what the drivers are complaining about. But that's a new mandate from NASCAR. You've got to show that much thread coming through inspection and all during the race.
And Larry and Jeff, I'll ask the question, why? Why did they go to the longer stud?
I think teams were getting so creative with their lug studs. I mean, we had some teams, especially at the higher speed like Daytona and Talladega, where there was basically no lug stud sticking outside the lug nut because that is rotating weight there.
Watching Matt Kenseth, winner of the first 2 races. He is in 12th place, a lap down. And Greg Biffle has fallen 2 laps behind.
50 on the 9, 30 on the leader.
Kenseth is racing Kevin Harvick in the 29 for position for 12th place. Kurt Busch, having dispatched Jeff Gordon, is having it all his own way. He has a half a second lead.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by AT&T, your world delivered. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. By Napa Auto Parts, Napa, get the good stuff. And by Ask.com. Where do NASCAR fans get answers? Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR.
Kurt Busch leading by a second with 143 laps to go. So time for another question from Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. Darrell.
What?
You had this question earlier.
Oh, do you want me to answer it?
No, I just wanted you to ask it.
You got to go to Ask.com to get the answer.
Which former president once worked here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway?
You can enter the Ask.com NASCAR challenge for a chance to win a trip to Talladega from the official search engine of NASCAR. Here's a clue. Georgia has 4,500 peanut farmers, creating about 50,000 jobs in a $2 million business each year. 700 million pounds of peanut butter are consumed by Americans every year. Marcus Ambrose. A lot of smoke trailing now. He'd made an unscheduled stop earlier.
Yeah, and just when the 2 just went by, Mike, the whole right side of his car is now kind of banged up. There was something.
Did he get in oil from Marcus Ambrose, perhaps, or just get up a little too high?
He's up there and he just.
You can see the black mark that's being created on the wall.
He's trying to get it down, but it just won't. It just can't. He just can't turn it down.
Marcos Ambrose in the 47 car makes that left-hand turn to the garage area.
Don't think it hurt anything because he didn't hit it hard. He just kind of scraped it.
In the left rear, right?
Getting a little loose.
Left rear. 4 tires and gas, 1 round down left rear.
Getting a little loose, a little wedge in the baby.
Darrell, that'll be a big break for our little buddy Casey Kanan at 9. He's going to finally get back on the lead lap, getting a free pass.
I tell you, engine number 9 is looking good coming down the line.
He's had a good car all day. Let's see what he can do back up on the lead lap. That'll make 11 cars on the lead lap when we restart.
I was just going to say about that high line, boy, you got to stay on top of you got to stay on top of the wheel all the time, because you're just inches away from the wall all the time. If you don't hit your marks perfectly, then you can do what Kurt Busch just did.
Now, how much might that have hurt that car, Darrell?
It didn't look bad at all. It just looked like it scraped it. It didn't bang into the wall. He just kind of rubbed it. This old car is tough. I mean, it'll take a little licking and keep on ticking.
Jimmy Johnson riding in 5th place. One of his most prized possessions is his custom 67 Camaro. Lowe's is giving fans a chance to win a Camaro of their own. Enter now at lowesracing.com to win a brand new one in a garage full of Kobalt Tools from Lowe's. The engine in Jimmy's car was built to honor Randy Dorton, who was the head of Hendrick Engines for many years. And fans can hear that whole story in Jimmy's own words at lowesracing.com.
Mike, pit road is still closed. I think they're having to put a little oil dry down where the 47 dropped oil coming onto pit road.
Under caution for the 6th time today. Working the 6th caution of the day. Pit road is open. Steve?
Mike, Jimmy Johnson says his car has gotten lazy in the center and lazy off. Air pressure adjustment for the 48, Kirsta.
The change for Kurt Busch on the last stop did not work. It made him too loose. They had to check the right side, so they're going to go back, put air back in the rear, and make a wedge adjustment. Matt.
The wedge adjustment already completed for Jeff Gordon in the 24, the same adjustment they made in the last stop, which made so much headway on this 24 machine. Meanwhile, Carl Edwards, he's going to get beat off pit road once again by the 24 chassis and air pressure adjustment. He too was on the free side.
Jimmy Johnson picked up 3 spots on that stop.
Now, we've been talking about Martin Truex Jr. The one car is still a car on the lead lap. Kevin Mannion decided to leave that car out to lead a lap to get those 5 points. They come in here 26 in points, but Mike, they have to run another lap on the racetrack because Kurt Busch actually crossed the start-finish line on pit road. He was still credited with leading that lap right there.
Long stop for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
They're going to be sure to get the wheels tight this time.
Checking out that issue with wheel spacers and threads on the lugs. Now, a little earlier, as they were discussing it under this caution, here's the exchange between Dale Jr. and Tony Jr. as crew chief.
If my wheel comes off and I hit the fence real hard, I get to whack every damn one of you with a hammer. Is that a deal?
Who does that sound like?
Y'all need some incentive to keep my tires on, obviously.
Man with the same name, just senior instead of junior.
That's right.
I bet they're all on tight now.
I bet you.
All right, under caution, let's go down to Chris Myers.
Just to recap, Mike, Kurt Busch has dominated 145 plus laps, led Carl Edwards next in line. Mark Martin was on the pole, and Bobby Labonte, 6-time winner here. Saturday's practice session, remember, he spun out then. He spun out here for his second caution. Here's Kurt Busch capturing the lead for the second time today. He's been out in front quite a few times. And this brought out a caution. The tire for Marcus Ambrose, the crew member going out there. That's an unapproved area for NASCAR. He got demoted to crew chef or something like that. But Jeff Hammond, that affected certainly the number of cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, it really has. It's important pit stops where a lot of guys had already made green flag stops. And when that happened, it put a lot of teams down, and they've been trying to fight their way back. So, you know, one of the guys we've been kind of like worrying about today, I believe, was the 18 car.
Yes.
And I really want to know what's going on. I think Krista Voda has some information on it. Krista, what's going on with him?
Yeah, I do, Jeff. He has not had grip all day. In fact, he said he's good for about 10 laps, and then he is just junk. No side bite. On lap 188, he said, bye-bye, boys, we're done. In fact, Jeff Dickerson joked, his spotter said, hey, today Kurt has all the good luck. Kyle said, yep, that's what we do with the Busch brothers. You can't get us both on the same day.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. And Artie, can we come into the studio because Jeff Hammond heard hammer from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I had to get one right quick. I got me a really good one of those Kobalt hammers. I mean, I'll use it on you if you don't straighten up.
He's ready to help out Dale Earnhardt Jr. We want to hammer home baseball on Fox in April, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Well, we still have a few laps to go here. And beginning April 11th, so we return to some great action. Red Sox, Yankees, Cardinal, Cubs, Phillies, Mets, Dodgers with Manny Ramirez against the Giants, and Tim McCarver, Joe Buck, Tom Brenneman, Kenny Albert, familiar voices you hear on Fox, bringing you the best in baseball. It should be a terrific season, especially with A-Rod out of the lineup for a while for the Yankees. Red Sox settling in with some new players, and the Yankees with Sabathia and Teixeira. Right now, let's rejoin. Easy with that hammer. Hammond, Hambone, ring the bell. Let's go back upstairs to Larry, Darrell, and Mike.
Well, now Tony Stewart may have a problem because they're saying they got very little fuel in that car on that stop.
Yeah, we're hearing only about 3 gallons, which is not going to carry you very far.
No.
These guys are getting about 4.7, 4.8 miles to the gallon, about 3 laps to the gallon. Right now, Tony's in the 16th spot, 2 laps down.
So, okay, guys, what have y'all done different this week? I mean, you know, all these fueling issues, there's some reason for it. It's got to be the rest of the story somewhere.
Watching our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Now get over 130 of your favorite channels in high definition.
What's that famous line? We didn't change a thing except.
Yeah, oh, we just modified this a little bit.
We'll restart with 11 cars on the lead lap. 4 cars 1 lap down. Kenseth, Harvick, Burton, and Newman. And then 7 cars 2 laps down, and a dozen 3 laps down. Green flag.
I think Tony's going to jump out there, see if he can get to maybe hold off this crowd here for a little while. It's going to be pretty hard to do with that 2 car steaming by on the outside. Yep.
This is not for position. Kurt Busch still the leader.
That 2 car has just been on a rail all day long.
Teammates fighting it out. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson.
And Larry, there's something that's getting ready to help all these race cars, not just one of them, but all of them. It's called cloud cover. When the sun goes in, you get a little cloud cover here, business will pick up.
It's going to cool that track down and she'll gain some grip. But again, just watching Tony Stewart up there in that 14 car, he is trying so hard because he really wouldn't be eligible for the free pass because he's 2 laps down. He's trying his best to get one of them back. Then he would only be 1 lap down.
Yeah, he was hoping to be able to stay out front there, but there's just no way to hold that 2 car back today.
Right now, the car in the free pass position is Matt Kenseth. He's the first car 1 lap down. So Kurt Busch, your leader on Jeff Gordon by 1.6 seconds. Jimmy Johnson half a second back. Then Mark Martin, Brian Vickers. Sounds like a good time to me for a crank it up. Battle for 5th place. Carl Edwards, Brian Vickers. Edwards the leading Ford in the race, and Vickers the highest placed Toyota right now.
Vickers doing a nice job today. Very competitive, carrying the banner for Toyota.
Just looking back there at Greg Biffle in that 16 car right now, he's 17th, 2 laps down. Just they cannot get that car tightened up, just loose.
How about Brian Vickers, Steve?
Mike, caution flag flew.
Whoa, trouble!
Vickers.
Sorry, Steve, but Greg Biffle just got the boot from his Roush Fenway teammate David Reagan. I don't know how he saved that car.
I don't either. I think Reagan's got some damage on the left front now. I thought I saw a tire smoking.
It's definitely rubbing, Darrell, it looks like.
Boy, that was what that was all about.
All right, let's go back to Steve.
Mike, I was just going to say the caution came out at a good time for Vickers. He had been in pretty good shape, but right before the caution came out, he said his car was loose all the way around the racetrack. And Ryan Pemberton said you're going to have to hang on because it's going to get looser. But again, that caution flag flew, and they were able to make an air pressure adjustment for Vickers.
Let's have another look at what happened between teammates here. David Reagan in the 6th, Craig Biffle in the 3M car.
Biffle on the bottom and Reagan on the top. Biffle just kind of slides right up in front of Reagan there, and they make contact. And how they kept from wrecking, I don't know.
And then Reagan's right side got up into the wall.
He's got some damage, had some tire smoke. Bam. He hit a that's pretty hard lick. Exactly.
A real hard lick.
Whole right side of the 6 car is just torn up.
Guys, why this was happening though, we will see it again here. I mean, that's how sideways. That was a hard lick by David Reagan. But while all that was going on, what happened at the front of the field, we've been talking about Tony Stewart in the 14 car. He drove by Kurt Busch. Now he is only 1 lap down. By my calculations from that restart, he, with the 3 gallons of fuel they got in, he has about 28 to 30 laps of fuel in that tank because they only got 3 gallons in it, and he had about 19 or 20 laps when the caution came out. So he needs a caution more than anyone right now for a lot of reasons.
Steve on Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Mike just went down to the pits to check on the 14 team. The reason they didn't get all the fuel in is they were trying basically, let's call this a different choreography in how they fuel the car and make adjustments. And there was a problem between Gooch Patterson and Scott Riddell, who's a catch can man. The catch can came disengaged, and that's what caused them to have the problem getting the gas in.
Thanks, Steve. Look at this wide.
That's a mess, is what that is.
Don't look now at them.
They were 4 wide coming off turn 4.
Casey Kane is the only one of those on the lead lap out of that group in the 9 car, the Bud car. But wow, he had a lot of company.
And that 9 car has just been marching through the field from that last restart. He has passed cars high, low. You saw him go middle there. He's on a move.
Now he's still the last car on the lean lap, but he's only 11 seconds off the lead, which is going to change as Jeff Gordon moves past Kurt Busch.
You know, I heard him say on Kurt's car they were going to make a little adjustment, and I'm not sure if that helped it or not. It looks to me like it hurt it a little bit.
Well, 2 things just happened to him that has not happened a lot. 2 cars just got by him, but he's fighting back for the lead. They were neck and neck when they got to the start-finish line that lap.
This racetrack isn't wide enough for Kurt Busch. He's been in the wall again.
No, he did. He scraped it up pretty hard again. All the writing's gone off the tires. He's just running so high and so close to the wall. Doesn't take much of a slip.
I don't see much more damage there to the right rear.
Oh, trouble turn 2, guys. Car hard in the wall.
It is Hornish.
And Bill Elliott gets collected into 21. What a shame.
Hornish looked like he may have cut a tire down or something. And
Sideways Sam finally hit the wall a ton.
Got that right front pretty good there, Travis.
Well, the biggest beneficiary from that caution, we just talked about him, Tony Stewart, because he got one of his laps back, and he needs to get to pit road to get some fuel in that car.
Matt Kenseth will get the free pass, but this is a terrible blow for George's favorite son and the Wood brothers running a partial schedule. Now, here's Hornish.
He's got this thing is smoking. Looks like he's got a tire down or something happened to the car, and he just come down the hill, and here come Bill.
He'd already hit it at this point, Darrell.
He'd already hit the wall.
Yeah, he'd been in the outside wall.
But I think the first time I saw it,
just nowhere for Bill Elliott to go in 21.
Hornish has taken his car to the garage. And now Bill Elliott pulls into the garage as well. Now, just before this, Kurt Busch got up and into the wall again.
That's his favorite spot. Look at him sawing on the wheel. But you know what he's doing? He's sawing on the wheel, but he's not lifting. He's staying the gas.
Pit road's open. Let's begin with Steve.
Jimmy Johnson says my car needs to turn better in the center on new tires. Jack Canals responds, we're going to take or undo the air pressure adjustment we made. Krista?
Kurt Busch saying he could not get the rear of his car to stick, and this has been the best race car all day. They're putting a pound in the left rear and going down 1 round on the track bar.
Gordon says his car's still on the free side. Steve Letarte, they were talking about a wedge change. Looks like air pressure instead. And meanwhile, Mark Martin, his teammate, having a good run as well the last time. No change on the previous stop. He said, though, the car still needs to be a lot tighter.
Whoa, who won the race off pit road? They were 3 abreast.
That's about as close as you can get. I think we'll have to take another view of this.
And we have it. This was close. Watch this coming to the line. Jeff Gordon.
You know what I like?
Jimmy Johnson.
They're at 3. One's at the first turn into the pit road. The other's at the 4th turn into the pit road. And the other's in the middle. And they come out the same.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is delivered by UPS, official delivery company of NASCAR and proud sponsors of David Reagan and the number 6 Ford Fusion.
This is Bristol.
You better pull them belts tight one more time.
Biggity, biggity, biggity. Let's go racing, boys.
The engines roar in Thunder Valley.
I think we're going to have a lot of guys that are going to be out of control.
He just got the Bristol stomp put on him.
I love this place. Bristol brings the best out of all of us.
Brings out the worst in you.
That's why they sell it out every time the series comes to Bristol. And if we don't get enough action at Bristol, we'll go 12 rounds. That's the brand new movie starring John Cena. You don't want to miss 12 rounds. And oh, by the way, there are some tickets available for Bristol. Go to bristolmotorspeedway.com and we'll see you there in 2 weeks.
I think they've added a lap. They're not going to take the green flag. Mike, just a little bit of an update. We know that Bill Elliott and Sam Hornish Jr., they are in the garage area, but out of the race is Marcos Ambrose, Joe Nemechek, Bobby Labonte, Dave Blaney, Travis Quapple, Mike Bliss. David Ruderman was in the garage area for repairs. He's back out there 23 laps down.
Robbie Gordon makes a late stop. Now 117 laps to go as you see them working on Bill Elliott's car, trying to get it repaired after a bout with the wall as part of the Sam Hornish crash. Here's Robbie. Robbie's another one of those that likes to scrape it up against the wall. And look at the right side of Robbie's car. Kind of looks like he gave it the full Logano a couple of times here today.
Yeah, it looked like it may be having a heating problem too, because they were looking down under the grill area there like they were cleaning that off.
And we're ready to restart. 12 cars now on the lead lap with the addition of Matt Kenseth, who got the free pass. 4 drivers 1 lap down. Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman, and as you mentioned, Tony Stewart got around the leader and got back to 1 lap down. There are 5 drivers 2 laps down. Biffle, McMurray, Mears, Allmendinger, and Gilliland. That takes you through the top 20. We get ready to go.
You know, it's a good run for A.J. Allmendinger, being in the top 20, qualified 38. He and Tony Stewart are the only 2 drivers outside the top 35 that's qualified for the first 4 races here in 2009. Trying desperately, he had to get full sponsorship for this car, but to be in the top 35 after Bristol.
If he finishes right there, he'll leave here 20th in points. Good run. Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again. Jeff Gordon's going to bring him down for this restart. One of 8 different leaders in this race so far. Green flag.
Restarts have been pretty sanitary. Normally you get a bottleneck mess every now and then.
Well, you can tell they've got 4 fresh tires on these race cars because they are going at it while they can take advantage of it. And that's Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. He's trying to get up there and get back on the lead lap. He's 1 lap down, back in the 13th position.
Harvick had a coulda, woulda, shoulda yesterday in the Camping World Truck Series race, finishing second to Kyle Busch.
Speaking of Kyle Busch, there he is in that 18 car on the bottom. Not the kind of day he's been looking for right now. He's 3 laps down, back in 22nd.
Buddy, I'm glad Kurt decided that wasn't going to work.
Jimmy Johnson looking in.
Watch his 2 car go to the high side and just sail. Man, he comes off of the corner with a head of steam.
Get such a good run up there. You just keep the engine wound up.
He's going to lose second place for the moment to Jimmy Johnson.
Kyle Busch knows that he's got to get by these leaders because he's not going to get the free pass 3 laps down.
But Larry, all race long, he's not had a car good enough to run with the leaders. Maybe now that's changed.
Well, I think they've definitely made adjustments, and he's trying his best to take advantage of those 4 fresh tires.
Let me just tell you, and I don't have to tell y'all, y'all know this, don't count him out.
No, sir. Not even with 114 laps to go.
Plenty of time.
Krista, what's new this time around on Kurt Busch?
Well, Mike, before that, or right after that last pit stop, Kurt actually apologized to his crew. Pat said, "Why are you apologizing? You're driving your butt off out there." He said, "Well, I just feel like I'm losing a little grip." But you know, you're talking about the head of steam that Kurt's getting off of the corners. That is exactly what Pat Trice and the crew chief said is the key here. You have to drive off the corner well, get on the gas for the straightaways. Kurt and Pat Tricen are in total sync right now.
And the best news for that team is getting into the wall did not hurt that car. He's still able to run leader's pace.
Scraped up the paint job. That's about it.
Martin Truex battling Brian Vickers and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Outside 07 there. 20's got a run.
That's Casey Mears alongside, who is not on the lead lap. He is 2 laps down.
You know, Darrell, something I think these guys are going to have to start dealing with. I know we've changed into daylight savings time, but coming down the front straightaway here at about 10 minutes to 5 Eastern time, that old sun's going to start getting in these eyes toward the latter part of this race.
Yeah, and the track is cooling down, Larry, and that's going to help all these cars handle better. I think that's going to pull some people like maybe Kyle Busch back into the picture here before the day's over with.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson in his 48 car, teammate to Jeff Gordon, he's trying to take this second spot away from Kurt Busch in the 2 car.
And Logano did hit the wall turn 4.
Yeah, he got it pretty good. He got up there and he couldn't get it down. He hit it pretty hard. Don't know if it hurt anything or not. It's just hard to tell with this car with all that foam they have on the right side.
Turn 2.
Whoa.
Mark Martin goes around. Caution's out.
4 cars, 2 cars left there, and you come on around.
Oof. Got a right rear tire. Did he blow the right rear tire?
Just the back end sheet metal, but it's pretty bad. The deck lid's flopping. 7-4, bring it to us. We'll see what we can do here.
Mike, that's one of the cars that's in the danger zone. Remember, he's had engine failures the last 2 weeks, comes in here 34th in the points and in trouble today.
Let's ride along with Mark, Darrell, see if we can figure out what happened here.
I mean, just looking at it, it looks like a right rear tire.
Hey, we'll do the best we can here. 7-4, Busch.
Yep.
There it goes.
We just lost it, got the wall hard. It's going to be us down the bottom.
So this will be the 8th caution of the afternoon, and it comes for our pole sitter, Mark Martin.
Whatever was going on with the car, Mark knew something was going on because he said, I'm going to do the best I can here. Not sure what that's all about, but apparently it's a right rear problem. Tire. Which would be like the first tire failure I think we've seen all day.
Well, let's go down to the garage area where a 5-time winner is with Dick Berggren.
Yeah, and one of the local favorites as well. Bill Elliott, a disappointment to be out of the race, but you're going to come back and race this car some more. When will we see you next?
Be back in Texas. You know, these guys have decided 12 races, and they're sticking to that. And it's a good decision for Lynn and Eddie for what they're trying to do in the Motorcraft Ford. But, you know, it's just a shame. I mean, we didn't have a terrible race car. I mean, the thing about it is you chase this racetrack, and it's so hard to get a hold of. And these cars are so temperamental. You know, you make a little bit of adjustment, it either puts you way out or kind of puts you in. And we're just kind of hanging on there, and then Sam goes down in the corner, head-on in the wall, and then turns it off and goes, you know, that's it.
All right, we're going to go to pit road. Krista.
Kurt Busch said he just needs a little tweak, needs it just to turn a little bit better, get a little more groove. Air pressure adjustment, half pound on the right front. Matt?
And service is already complete on Jeff Gordon Chevrolet. A track bar adjustment, still trying to migrate the handling of this race car from wicked loose to tight.
Eighth caution of the day. It's out for Mark Martin, and Kevin Harvick will get back on the lead lap. Harvick with the free pass. .106 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500. Everybody having a good time here in Hampton, Georgia, south of Atlanta. Figure you're out of tune.
He can do anything. You know, he can just join any team and be a part of it.
Now watch Jimmy Johnson come down pit road. We got a couple of things to speculate on what might have happened here as he left his pit. Watch the rear tires.
No, you're right.
Right there, he locked him up.
Yeah,
until he got to that line.
I saw the car dip over. So you're right. I think he just touched the brakes.
He may have been concerned about his tack reading and didn't want to exceed the pit road speed limit.
But Larry and I both looked at each other and said, man, that's a lot of rear brake.
Well, we heard Carl Edwards earlier in the 99 car putting some rear brake into his car. That car looks like it's got a lot of rear brake in it, the 48 car.
Now they are trying to get Mark Martin's car repaired. He is not out of the race, trying to get the pole sitter back in the race, and we're on 1 to go. Chris Myers.
Real quick, while we're under caution, you talked about the track cooling down, maybe some slipping and sliding. Kyle Busch is few laps down. We saw him earlier, came in as a hot driver. Watch the same, both Junior and Carl Edwards dealing with the track, and Bobby Labonte in the Ask.com car. Might have to go to Ask.com to find out why for the second time he had problems here. Robbie Gordon in front of the leader at the time, slipping and sliding, and Greg Biffle as well, and then Kurt Busch trying to maintain that lead. We heard Larry McReynolds talk about maybe sun in the eyes of the drivers as we look on board here.
Yeah, that's the latest right here. It just happened to Mark Martin. Like he had a problem with the right rear tire. That 5 car gets around, he hits the outside safety barriers, and they're trying to effect repairs on our pole setter.
So it leaves Jeff Gordon on top trying to end that 44 race winless string. The only driver to lead all 4 races this season as one of the Hendrick cars. It goes towards the garage. Mike?
And Greg Biffle's tough day continues. They're going to bring him back to pit road. They said he pitted outside the box.
Yep.
So Biffle, who is 19th, will end up, he'll give up 1 position, 20th. He'll be the last car 2 laps down. The rear tire was on the back line of the pit box, and that is out of bounds. Mark Martin still under repair on pit road as Jeff Gordon gets set to lead his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Jimmy Johnson to the flag. Clint Bowyer, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Truex, Vickers, Kenseth, Kane, Earnhardt, Edwards, and Harvick are the lead lap cars.
That's going to be a much bigger penalty for Greg Biffle because he's on pit road. They just restarted this race, so it's going to be a huge penalty. They're going to hold him there for a lap, and then plus he's going to lose what it takes to get back up to speed. So that's a huge penalty.
That's right.
But he wouldn't. Apparently they wouldn't come in because they had to black flag him to get him in.
They had the opportunity to do it under caution, and it would have just been 1 lap sitting there. So now they've released him now, but here comes the field off turn 4.
And here comes Kyle Busch side by side with Tony Stewart. Now not for position because Stewart is 1 lap down. And the 18 showing 3 laps down, but Kyle's trying to get back in the game here. He's got to overcome 3 laps in 103 laps. That's a tall order.
Well, he's got to get 2 of them back by driving by the leader, and I just don't know if he's quite strong enough to do that just yet, because right now that 24 car of Jeff Gordon, he's right.
Kurt Busch, his older brother, right now sits in 4th place, battling the lap car of Ryan Newman for track position.
Well, I watched that 24 car at California. That was the best 500-mile race I'd seen them run in a long time. Had same thing going out at Vegas last week, but had that problem getting on pit road. Today is another day where they have had a flawless 500-mile race so far.
Gordon's fastest lap was just now. Lap 223 is the fastest lap he's run all day.
Speeds are going to start to pick up as it cools down, the sun sets, track cools off a little bit. We're going to see some fast speeds, or faster than we've seen for the day.
Same thing for his teammate, Mike, Jimmy Johnson. He just ran his fastest lap of the race on the same lap that Jeff did.
As did Clint Bowyer, and those are all lead lap, all top 5 cars.
Let's look inside the car here and see how our driver buddies are doing. I know they're working hard. This car has been a handful today. We're looking out of the back of Jimmy's car right now and back at Kyle Busch. But here's Casey Kane and Dale Jr. Let's see if there's any difference in the driving styles here. Junior's got a nice handful, tugging to the left, a little different position on the steering wheel.
Junior's car looks a little tighter, like it's not turning quite as good as Casey.
Yeah, he's got to put both hands over on the left side of the wheel there to really tug it down. But you can see how hard these guys are working. Kane's got a great race car, and you can see how hard he's working in there. Take a look at who else we got. Oh, here, let's look at Carl, because Carl is usually pretty animated when he drives. You can see him. I mean, he's chopping wood right there, buddy.
He's in 10th place. Matt's in his pit.
One of the faster cars earlier in the race, but the past couple segments, his biggest issue is telling Bob Osborne the car is tight, and then it goes free big time when it goes over the bumps and settles on the bump stops. They've tried to work that issue out, haven't been able to do it. Another big hindrance they've had, if you look at the stats over the past 3 pit stops combined, they've lost 13 spots on pit road. Nick?
Kevin Harvick started his day the wrong way. He pitted, then came the caution flag, and that cost him a lap. The car had been just awful for the first 150 or so laps, but the crew kept working on it. And the loose condition that caused that car to run sideways is out. Harvick is now on the lead lap in 12th spot and has told the crew that the car is unbelievably better.
They have definitely consistently made that car better and better and better throughout the day. Now, Kyle Busch, the 18 car, he did just drive by Jimmy Johnson in the 48, but now he's got to set his sights on that 24 up there if he wants to get back in this thing or start to get back in this thing.
Yeah, it may be too little too late with 3 laps down.
Now here's the leading Ford in the race, Matt Kenseth.
Just got back on the lead lap, by the way.
Yeah, at lap 205, he got the free pass, got back on the lead lap, and Kenseth's trying to get himself in contention here. He's 7 seconds off the leader. Steve.
And Matt Kenseth has been fighting back all day, Mike, as you said, trying to come back from that disappointment in Vegas. Matt says, I am using a lot of track on exit, hoping to get a long green flag run here.
His teammate Carl Edwards wants the track position. They're not racing for position, but you can see both of them have moved up well in this race today.
Now guys, here's a scenario. All of the leaders were on pit road at lap 217, which is about 108 laps to go. As we mentioned, you can run about 56 to 58 laps on fuel. So this is definitely, if we stay green, at least one more stop type of a race.
Yeah, and as the temperatures drop a little bit, the cars will stay better longer. You're still going to fight the same issue, whatever it is, loose or push, but it's not going to affect you quite as early in a run as it would when it was much hotter.
Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch. Or excuse me, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch. This is for 3rd place.
I don't know if it's coincidentally but once Kurt Busch got his car into the wall, even though it was lightly and slightly, not so politely, he hadn't seemed to be quite as good.
And Larry, you said many folks in the garage thought Denny Hamlin would be the car to beat today. He's been a solid top 5 car all day, but hasn't led a lap yet.
He just hadn't quite been as good as Kurt Busch and Carl Edwards was in the early going, or as Jeff Gordon seems to be right now. We've almost had a change into the guard. We certainly know, as Matt reported, that Carl Edwards has not had a good day on pit road, lost 13 spots on one of those past pit stops. But definitely it seemed like Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch early in the going, and now Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, the 2 Hendrick cars up there.
I'm watching Dale Jr. back there. I was just thinking about, he said he was going to take a hammer to his team. I think he might want to take a hammer to that car because the thing is evil.
Jeff Gordon right now owns a 4-second lead over his teammate Jimmy Johnson with 92 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Moving forward.
87 laps to go with Jeff Gordon in the lead over Kurt Busch by 3.2 seconds. Here in Atlanta, Jimmy Johnson 5.6 back, then Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards. Here's our final Ask.com question of the day. What NASCAR Sprint Cup driver has led the most career laps at Atlanta? And it says that in his 33 starts, he averaged leading 100 laps per start. And that's incredible for a race that's only 325 laps. You're going to have to go to Ask.com to find out and enter the Ask.com NASCAR Challenge for a chance to win daily prizes and a trip to Talladega. Today, Kurt Busch has led the most laps, 160. Nobody else is close.
Nobody can catch him, so he's locked up also those 5 bonus points for leading the most laps.
You know what? If he finishes second to Jeff Gordon today, that's still what an incredible turnaround from last year for that 2 car and the Penske bunch. And you know what else I'm really, I don't want to say proud of them, but I think it just shows how innovative they are and what they can do. They're running the new Dodge engine, and they're doing the development work as we speak. As they're racing, they're continuing to develop that engine instead of sitting back and using what they had.
Yeah, when I look at our top 2 guys right now, and of course we still have 84 laps to go and we know at least one more pit stop. You've got a guy leading that hadn't been to victory lane since October of 2007. The guy running second, Kurt Busch, he won a race last year, but he took a 20th place car and won it on basically staying out and racing the weather and getting the rain at Loudon, New Hampshire.
I'm afraid to ask this question because it'll probably be an Aflac question, but do you know who won the first nationwide race here?
No.
In 1992, I think it was.
Was it the guy is it the guy leading the Cup race today right now?
You got it.
Jeff Gordon.
It was one of the first.
I think we forget that he
here.
actually ran the Nationwide Series.
Yeah. You know what kind of car? You know what he was driving? Talking about peanuts.
The Baby Ruth Ford for Bill Davis.
That's right.
Yeah, how about that? Jeff Gordon up by 2 seconds over Kurt Busch. There's the gap, first to second. And Jimmy Johnson running in third. Johnson started 7th today. He has led the race. In fact, he led 11 laps. In the Kobalt Chevrolet, 4th and 5th, Denny Hamlin, who started 6th, and Carl Edwards, who has come from 29th up into the top 5. Now they're about 10 seconds behind Jeff Gordon, the leader.
And you know what else? There's probably people all over the world saying, how did he know that? I was here.
Yes, we all
you were here too, right?
That's
and you were too, right, Larry?
Yes, I was.
Brian Vickers running 6th. Solid run for Vickers. He started 17th in that Toyota today. He is 12 seconds back of the lead. Clint Bowyer having a great race for the 2nd week in a row. He's the 6th place car. He's been on the lead lap all day. Started 21st. He is in 7th right now, 14 seconds back.
Clint holds the record right now, not the record, but at least the most consecutive races without a DNF. I think it's like 76 races, all the way back to Phoenix in November of 2006.
Here's Matt Kenseth, the 8th place car. The DeWalt Ford started back in typical Kenseth land, 30th.
You know, it never surprises me that the Childress' cars are so dependable, because that's how you win championships. And I can think back with Dale and Childress back in the day, and the Childress would build Dale a car he couldn't tear up, because he knew engine-wise, car-wise, everything else. You got to run all the races, you got to finish all the laps.
Childress has Bowyer in 7th and Kevin Harvick now in 10th.
Yeah, our cars that are running 8th, 9th, and 10th right now, Kenseth, Kane, and Harvick, it hadn't been that long ago they were a lap down, and those 3 cars got the free pass.
11th is Martin Truex. We've told you the story of his kidney stone. Quite painful yesterday afternoon in 2nd practice, and that is gone, and he is up on the wheel in 11th place.
And it hadn't been that long ago. I don't know that we actually documented it. That team had to change the battery, but fortunately they were able to do it under a caution.
And the final car on the lead lap is Dale Earnhardt Jr., whose Mountain Dew car twice today has been the recipient of the free pass, but now Earnhardt's done a good job of hanging on to the lead lap.
Man, listen, he has a whole handful of steering wheel cranking left and the rear tire spinning.
Now there are 3 cars 1 lap down: Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton, and Ryan Newman. What's up with Newman, Matt?
Mike, he led 3 laps early, and chances are he's not going to lead anymore, because for about the past 11 laps, every time he goes by, you can tell it's Newman by not even looking, because his car is down, at least the cylinder, hovering right now in the 15th position, but it has to give a little cause for concern, because the corporate teammates at Hendrick are right now 1st and 3rd in the top 5, but Newman, he's down at least a cylinder in that 39 machine.
Mike, that's another car that's in that danger zone. Came in here 33rd in points, so they don't need this thing to blow up.
And you can see right now everybody's driving by him, so he's definitely down.
Now, we mentioned that he's the 3rd car 1 lap down. There are 4 cars 2 laps down: Jamie McMurray, AJ Allmendinger, Casey Mears, and David Gilliland, while there are 9 cars 3 laps down, led by Kyle Busch. Let's have a look at the danger zone. These are car owner points. If you are 35th or higher, your car is locked into the field for the next race. And this is this year's points after Bristol in 2 weeks. We'll be using this year's points to set the field.
That's pretty impressive. We talked about David Gilliland and this 71 team led by Slugger Lavery. Remember, that team did not even qualify for the Daytona 500. They have one less start, and here he's sitting here running in the top 20 again this week, just as he did last week at Las Vegas.
Up front, Kurt Busch challenging Jeff Gordon for the lead. Busch had drifted back to a second or two behind Gordon, and no more. Here he comes.
And he did. He ran him down in a hurry.
He's just looking for a place to pass now.
He's not going to give up that high side, though.
He started to go to the bottom. He said, no, this is my line up here.
He just gets such a run off the corner. I mean, look at that. It looks like he's got 100 more horsepower.
That's impressive.
Look at Pat.
Pat Tryson. He likes what he sees.
I like them babies.
So the lead has changed hands for the 11th time today. And Kurt Busch, who has led the most laps today, is back out front.
The Kobalt Tools 500 is sponsored by Claritin Allergy Products. Live Claritin Clear. By KFC. Now get 10 great KFC tastes starting at 99 cents on the new KFC value menu. By Quaker State. Tough enough for race day. Tough enough for every day. Real durable oil. And by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates.
Get ready. Ready? Green flag. Green flag. I'm looser up here. My wheel comes off and I hit the fence real hard. I get to whack every one of you with a hammer. That 48 car has got a motor.
Cheez-It sound bite of the race. 69, make it 68 laps to go. Kurt Busch out in front by 4 seconds. Kurt Busch has led more laps today than he led all of last season.
Yep. This has been a dominating performance, no question.
The fastest car in the Speedway right now is that number 83 Toyota of Brian Vickers there. Coming right after Carl Edwards.
He's been chopping away at Carl here. He's about to get him.
And he drove by Denny Hamlin, drove by Jimmy Johnson. Steve, I believe they finally got this 83 car where they want it.
Well, Larry Mack, they made an adjustment on lap 280, and Brian Vickers said that track bar adjustment we made at first hurt, but now it's really coming around.
Now here's the scenario. We've got 67 laps to go. We're at lap 258. All the leaders were on pit road around lap 217 to 218 under that last caution.
And caution is out. Debris in turn number 4. We're told Robbie Gordon may have scraped the wall and left something behind. But debris on track will put all that strategy to bed.
Yeah, what's going to make this interesting is depending on how long this caution, it's just outside the window of what the fuel window is. But I'd be willing to bet that the fact that the way this pace slows down, and Tony Stewart we're hearing, remember it wasn't that long ago he was 2 laps down. He got one back the hard way, and now he's on the lead lap with the free pass. But
tell me about that just outside the window one more time.
Just outside the window of being able to make it.
I'm loving it.
But I guarantee there's some thinking they can.
Oh yeah, I'm already thinking that.
You know, Atlanta is used to having a race in March and a race in November and most recently October. The second race here has been moved. Part of a NASCAR schedule realignment. Labor Day weekend will be the next time the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series comes here to Atlanta. So hopefully better weather than in late fall. And a holiday weekend for folks to come here and enjoy NASCAR Sprint Cup racing. Beginning April 11th, Fox Saturday Baseball returns to your TV to bring you a full season of the game's greatest matchups, like Red Sox Yankees, Cardinals Cubs, Phillies Mets, Dodgers Giants. Catch all the excitement of Fox Saturday Baseball's Game of the Week beginning Saturday, April 11th.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the park.
Well, pit road's open and it's going to be a busy place with 64 laps to go when they come by. Kurt Busch will lead them down. And here come all the lead lap cars, Steve.
Brian Vickers says his car's not too bad. A little bit tight on the bottom of the racetrack. It's still a little bit loose on throttle. After 10 laps, Brian Pemberton telling him his car is as good as anybody's. Let's go to Krista.
Steve, Kurt Busch got on the radio and said it takes a little bit to get it started, but boys, and I quote, we've got it tightened up just right. Matt?
Carl Edwards on the bottom needing a great stop from his guys. He wants to run the bottom better. That's where Bob Osborne's going to take a big swing at adjustment-wise. Meanwhile, another adjustment for Jeff Gordon. He started out a little free, then it went tight. A lug issue on the 24, then it went big time loose for Gordon.
Tell you what, that 83 responded with a pretty good pit stop, as well as Shane Wilson in that 33 car with Clint Bowyer. Jeff Gordon, the 24, looks like it's the real loser.
Uh-oh. See how Jimmy Johnson gained 3 spots? It's because he was too fast exiting pit road.
Uh-oh, tail in the longest line on this restart.
He did that same thing that we saw him do earlier. He shot right here to this line, and he slowed way down, but not enough.
Jeff Gordon just couldn't get going because Carl Edwards is in the pit box in front of him. Cost him a few spots.
Races are won and lost on pit road. Let's see what happens.
Digger welcomes us back live to Atlanta. A recent round of pit stops.
Yeah, right there on the 83 car. Brian Vickers, close call right there. Right front tire almost got hit by the 17. It almost gets away from them. They got a new front tire changer this week, but right now he's second. And the 24 car has been up front all day and been real solid. They drop a lug nut on the left rear. It costs him. Now all of a sudden he drops back to fourth. He's got to drive his way back up.
62 laps to go. Jeff's picks for today's AT&T fastest pit crew. We're going to leave Jeff Gordon in there for now. Kurt Busch's crew, Clint Bowyer. Don't forget to vote for the AT&T fastest and most valuable pit crew of the year. And Kurt Busch dominating the race. See if he can hang on here. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
We are back under green. Kurt Busch, Brian Vickers, Clint Bowyer, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson served his penalty, had to restart tail end of the longest line. He and Dale Earnhardt Jr. came in on that last caution flag lap to top up with fuel. But Larry, they've got to go 61 laps from here.
In the one I would be the most concerned as we look at this wad here, 3 and 4 wide, the one I would be the most concerned about going that far would be the guy leading the race, because normally the Dodges do not get that good of fuel mileage.
And I tell you, just look what a lead he pulled out, Larry, in 1 lap. I mean, that thing has got some giddy up.
3/4 of a second in 1 lap over Brian Vickers.
Of course, when you got a great handling car, and it looks like his is that one of those, that makes that engine look good.
Now, I will say this, contrary to the Dodge fuel mileage, the Michael Waltrip in the 55 car, the 25th position, he's got problems.
Came off turn 2 and went straight to the back.
Yeah, well, Ruderman's already had an engine problem, and so has Marcos Ambrose. Whoa, we got a car in the wall.
Hard, Scott Speed.
Scott Speed. Caution,
oh, more cars.
Biffle got turned around, hit the wall hard in the 16.
Everybody else limps past.
Boy, Biffle's day just went from bad to worse. Get black flag, held in the pits.
Now that's been a bad day. He was running 31st at the time of the crash.
Moving to the garage,
like, yeah, looks like it'll take him out of the race. Well, let's see how this starts with rookie Scott Speed in the 82, the silver car.
Scott had kind of gotten caught in the middle of some of this restart mess. He just pushes up the hill right there and gets caught.
That's David Reagan.
I think that's David Reagan, and that's the second time that's happened to David Reagan. Biffle actually did that to him earlier. And then this is just chain reaction here. Looks like
David
the 12 is Strimmy, and
well, let's watch from David Reagan's car.
Right top. Feel it out, moment caution is out.
Looked like Reagan was pretty well up the racetrack, and
Jeff Burton, a 31 car, was a part of that chain reaction back there. The Caterpillar car going through the grass.
boy, I'll tell you, look at that. That splitter beats all I've ever seen. It's like a snow plow. Look at that.
That will knock Scott Speed out of the top 35 in owner points. And now Michael Waltrip was dropping back, but here's his view.
Clear there. In front of you, right in front of you. You see what you got? The 82's up against the wall. Come all the way down. Come all the way down. Come on down. You're good. Come on up. Hey guys, we got the left side splitter. We got the left side splitter some right there. We got to get it out.
When cars come off the corner here, if you're pushing a little bit and you got cars all around you, your car can just take off a lot like what Scott Speeds did. Now,
you know, that's doing a pretty good imitation of a Caterpillar dozer blade right there.
It really is.
Now here's the situation. Pit road is still closed right now. There you see Greg Biffle talking to his crew chief, Greg Irwin. And what's interesting with this caution, this puts these cars within the window now of being able to make it to the end. And I've got to believe with only about 13 cars on the lead lap, we may see a lot of those lead lap cars come to pit road. Sounds like they're debating about trying to get this car repaired.
Whether they can get it fixed and get it back out and do any good or not.
57 laps to go. And the only way that Biffle would be able to pick up positions would be if other drivers have further trouble and drop out of the race.
Well, there's a number of guys that are ailing right now, but that are still going, and the question is whether they'll make it or not. And I don't think you can get it fixed and get back out there in a time to salvage anything, really.
None of those drivers, though, are more than 4 laps down, except Mark Martin, who's down 12, David Rudeman 24, Reed Sorensen down 64 laps. So he could probably move ahead of Rudeman, but somebody else would have to fall out for Biffle to gain. Well, now we're down to it. If you stop now, you can go on gas, but what about, can you make it on tires? Do you want to make it on tires from here?
Well, I go back to my FedEx understanding the race. This race normally, with about 25 to 30 laps to go, normally will have a caution. But now you can't bank on that. I just believe with only that many cars on the lead lap, about 12 or 13, that if you're back there about 6th on back, come get four more fresh tires and make sure you've got enough fuel to get to the end.
What caused this wreck, or what caused this mess? A restart, a caution,
and
we're getting ready. And we're getting ready to have another one. And cautions breed
cautions.
Especially when it gets near the end of the race.
Well, that's what we said at the top of the day. The cautions here come in clumps, interrupting long runs of green flag racing.
And the only guy that I don't think is really worried about what happens is that 2 car. He is in a league of his own today. He is checked out every time.
Well, you know what? I don't want my driver's opinion whether I need to come to pit road right now. I want my crew chief's buddy's opinion. Jeff Hammond, what do you think? With only 12, 13 cars on the lead lap, we know how important fresh tires are, even over 2-lap tires. I want to make sure I've got enough fuel to make it to the end.
Well, the thing is right now, Larry, I think you've already pretty much pointed it out. These guys that are at the back, there's not that many cars on the lead lap. I think that, you know, you've got to take advantage of it. Don't beat yourself. We always like to use that analogy. If you're at the back anyway, come get the tires, come get the fuel, make the necessary adjustments, because let's face it, so far you have not been good enough, Chris, to be able to kind of like catch up to the 2 car. So why not make some more adjustments to try to gain some positions?
Kurt Busch, it's been 22 races since he's won a race. He's led more laps today than all of last year. Let's just recap. He dominated through the first 200 laps, but on lap 204, Jeff Gordon, his first lead of the day, passing Kurt Busch. And you see Bill Elliott and Sam Hornish Jr. This brings out a caution on Jeff Gordon in the race off pit road. Look at that with Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson. And it's Gordon who wins that race off pit road. Mark Martin, the pole sitter, with some problems at right and rear tire. That brings out a caution. 75 laps to go, and Kurt Busch recapturing the lead for the 5th time in this race. And then our 10th caution moments ago, rookie Scott Speed involving Greg Biffle and others. And you know, I want to go back to Kurt Busch as we got to look, because last year there was some frustration where a shifter during a race kind of broke in his hand, and he talked about the equipment at Penske Racing and didn't necessarily call anybody out, but raised attention, stuck with it. They reacted around him, and at least so far this year he's hung in there in points and is having of the run of the day?
Well, so far, I mean, again, that's what you have to do, Chris. I mean, you got to understand, Kurt Busch is a former champion. He knows what it takes to win. He's got a crew chief right now that, can do the right things for him to give him an opportunity to win races. There's Pat Tryson. He's worked for a lot of great teams in his career, and he's trying to give his driver what he needs. And when you give the man what he wants, look what he does with it. He goes up to the front and he leads.
And Roger Penske's saying emphasis on the 1.5-mile tracks. 10 of those 10 races are run on that during the course of the year. That's the emphasis, as you see rookie Scott Speed being hauled away. And we hope that pit road will be open here.
I believe it will, and we're going to find out whether we got any takers. I think Larry and Darrell have been talking about who's going to come and who's not. I'm looking for most of them all to come down and take advantage of it.
All right, so it is open, and what do you anticipate other than guys rolling in terms of?
You see some elite cars right there. There it is. There's some of the changes right there. There's a split between who's coming, who's not. Right now, Kevin Harvick's leading the parade down pit road, and the 2 car is still up front.
All right, let's check in with Steve Burns and Matt Kenseth. Steve?
Well, Chris, I was kind of laughing listening to DW and Jeff Heyman because that was the very conversation Matt Kenseth and Drew Blickensderfer had. Matt wanted to stay out. Drew said, nope, you're going to fall too far behind. Mike?
So tires and Sunoco race fuel for Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson. Kevin Harvick is away. Casey Kane will lead that group off pit road, it looks like.
Looks like we had about half and half of the lead lap cars. Half of them stayed out, like Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, Brian Vickers, and then the half kind of at the back. You're going to see them right here. You'll see Clint Bowyer in the 33 make the move. No, back on the racetrack, and then there comes Harvick leading Kane, Kenseth, Truex, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Denny Hamlin, the 11, stayed out as well.
Looks like half listened to the driver and half listened to the crew chief.
How's your calculator working?
Mine's working good.
6 drivers stayed on track. 7 came in among those on the lead lap. Scott Speed checked at the care center and released after that crash off turn number 4. We have a week off, and then NASCAR on Fox returns. We're going to need a week to catch our breath before we go to Thunder Valley, Bristol, Tennessee. In 2 weeks, Martinsville, Virginia, the paperclip shaped half mile. NASCAR's, what a great legacy track. 1:30 p.m. Eastern time on the short track, and then the high speeds and wide open spaces of Texas, Sunday, April 5th. Now, all of these tracks do have some tickets available. Check out the website you see on the screen, because we'd love to see you at the races. And if not, right here with NASCAR on Fox.
So 2 short tracks back to back.
Look at it. Look at it. He can't get rid of it. I just hope Digger's not in there somewhere.
That looks like all the shrubs that used to sit outside the corners of Martinsville. Like they're all right there.
I don't know. Carl Spackler, he might be down in there looking for Digger. I don't know what's going on. See?
Replace your divots.
I was going to say a very large divot. That looks like one of my divots, actually.
Well, now they'll get it fixed with a hammer and a broom on Jeff Burton's car.
Now, of the cars that came to pit road and made pit stops, the car that won the battle off pit road was Casey Kane in that 9 car. And remember, he fought to get his lap back for the longest. Now there he is in the 7th position.
Harold, we're about to see just how good Brian Vickers is, because he is now right there on the back bumper of Kurt Busch for this restart. And let's see what he's got.
I think he's pretty good. I don't know how good. Pretty good.
NASCAR on Fox is proud this year to support Susan G. Komen for the Cure, which raises funds for breast cancer research and treatment. You can be part of the cure. Please visit Komen, KOMEN.org.
You know, the teams that did not make a pit stop, like Kurt Busch and Brian Vickers, Clint Bowyer, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, right now these cautions are their friends, because fuel consumption, a good rule of thumb at a 1.5-mile racetrack, 2 cautions equal 1 green flag lap. So I think with the pace slowing down, the number of cautions that we're running under this period here, more than likely they're going to be okay fuel-wise.
But will the big question be Kurt Busch? Because traditionally, the Dodges have not gotten as good gas mileage as the Fords, Toyotas, or Chevys.
Well, it looks like based on the prior pit stops today, he's been one of the last ones to come in. Now, the cautions have fallen just right, but he's been one of the last ones to hit pit road. Maybe this new engine gets better gas mileage.
Might do it.
You see a lot of the track is in shade now in the corners from our DirecTV aerial coverage. Now get over 130 of your favorite channels.
You know, Darryl, Brian Vickers in a Toyota running in second. You know, last year they were not getting that good fuel mileage, but I think that's something they have definitely went to work on. I know I made the comment in Las Vegas, based on last year they don't get that good of fuel mileage, but they're getting better this year than they did in 2008.
Yeah, they've learned. I'm sure they've learned a lot. All these teams do. It's all in the carburetor. You can jet it and mess with the throttle linkage, and then the driver does his part, and you can stretch it pretty good.
So 51 laps to go. Does Brian Vickers have anything for Kurt Busch? Does Clint Bowyer, coming off that great run last week? Can Jeff Gordon get back to the front? Or Carl Edwards, who came in here as the favorite?
Well, I will say this. The 2-car last time took him a few laps to get going. See if how it works out this time. He's just gone. He's got a heavy dose of gone right now.
Boy, they are so wadded up. They are not hesitant running 3 and 4 wide on these restarts.
Take advantage of those new tires while they're new.
Now, what's interesting with the free pass being given out under these cautions, we no longer have a car 1 lap down. We have several cars 2 laps down. Jamie McMurray in the 26 leading that group right now.
Busch and Vickers and Bowyer have cleared the lap traffic. And here comes Jeff Gordon.
If you remember on that last green flag run, Jeff Gordon's car was probably one of the best cars on the short run. Kurt Busch, the 2-car, was the best car on the long run.
Gordon now third. He has passed Clint Bowyer. Carl Edwards now racing Bowyer for 4th.
Well, if he got it, now's the time to use it. Because if that 2-car does like he's done all day, he's going to get out there and you're not going to be able to chase him down. I think that must have been Carl Spotter telling him to go get that 24.
Jimmy Johnson, the 48, a little slice and dice in traffic. Remember, he had to come from the back after a pit road penalty. But now the first 6 cars did not pit on this caution, so their tires not quite as fresh.
But what they have, Larry, 2 or 3 laps. So
had two and a half green flag laps. The car really on the move, though. That was one of the cars that pitted. He's not made it to the top 6 yet.
Oh, Junior gets in the back of Almirola and almost turned him around.
And he ended up losing the position because he had to get out of the throttle, but he had to get out to avoid a big old wreck.
I think Junior got a problem. Well, it's the same one he's had all day. Car's just not doing what he wants it to do.
Nope, he's faded back to 14th. Last car on the lead lap. Let's see how close this was between Junior and the 8.
Gets that big runoff too over there and just not quite clear. Too many 8s right there together at one time.
You know, Darryl, you talked about this driver earlier, and he was one of the cars that was a lap down. He finally got the free pass not that long ago. He has 4 fresh tires. Matt Kenseth in his 17 car, he's knocking on the door of the top 5. He's moved up to the 6th position. He just got by Casey Kane and Denny Hamlin at 1 whack.
I just think that what makes this unpredictable late in a day like this is the weather change. And cars that weren't very good, man, they just seem to come alive late in this race when the sun goes down and it starts to cool off.
Kenseth is one who is making the best out of what started out to be not a great day. Another is Kevin Harvick, who's back on the lead lap, and now he's up in a 9th position. But Kurt Busch is maintaining 1 point. Here's a look at Harvick battling Kyle Busch, not for position. Kyle Busch 3 laps down. We're saying Kurt Busch is maintaining just exactly 1 second on Brian Vickers, 1st to 2nd, and they've driven away from Jeff Gordon and the rest of the field.
And you know, when I look at those top 3, Mike, with 44 laps to go, the incentive for all of those guys to win. Kurt Busch only 1 win in 2008, and as we said, it was a strategy call. Brian Vickers only has that one win at Talladega that was a controversial win. Jeff Gordon hadn't won since October of 2007.
Carl Edwards looking ahead at Jeff Gordon. Edwards fourth, Gordon third. Laps winding down, 43 to go. Kurt Busch leading Brian Vickers, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards as this one winds toward a conclusion.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Lipitor. By Subway, the big event is back. Any regular footlong for just $5. Subway, eat fresh. By Lowe's, for all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, let's build something together. And by Sprint, get NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile only from Sprint, only on the Now Network.
Kurt Busch continues to lead Brian Vickers by 1.3 seconds, 38 laps to go. Joey Logano's had a hard day. He had a bump from Tony Stewart after A.J. Allmendinger got loose in front of him. He touched the wall, then he hit the wall, then he hit the wall, and now he hits pit road. Watch the 44 Allmendinger. Right up into Logano.
Gets him a little bit loose, and then Tony comes up behind him, and I think he was gonna
just a little bit there.
Bump draft him, but didn't work out.
Then Logano went up to the wall in one. In two, he stayed off the wall but caught it again in turn 3.
And you've got to believe that hit right there was stimulated from something that happened to the car when he got into it on the back straightaway. And he was running in about the 21st, 22nd position, racing actually a lot of cars that were all 3 laps down.
We should mention they tried to repair Greg Biffle's car and gave up the ghost. He is out of the race and will finish 33rd.
I tell you what, this car, this COT car, every week when the race is over, it doesn't matter we're Daytona or here in Atlanta or when we go to Bristol in 2 weeks, the right side is always used up in most all of the cars.
7th place is at stake here. Teammates for Richard Childress Racing, Clint Bowyer, Kevin Harvick.
Now, Clint Bowyer, that was one of the teams that elected to stay out on that last caution. He's lost 2 or 3 spots, about to lose another one to Kevin Harvick, his teammate. Harvick, the 29 car, that was one of the cars that did come to pit road for 4 times.
Of those cars that most recently got tires, Matt Kenseth is the furthest up the line in 5th. Casey Kane is 6th. As you said, it was only a couple of laps difference in tire wear, but Kurt Busch, who did not stop, continues to lead Brian Vickers now by 1.4 seconds. Jeff Gordon is 2.8 back.
And I watch their lap times, and they match lap times almost every lap around here within a 1/10 of each other.
Casey Kane, the 9 car, now he's on the march. He's another car that has little fresher tires, as well as Matt Kenseth. That's a battle for 5th right there between the 17 and the 9. 17 all the way to the bottom. Casey Kane in the 9, where he's been almost all day long to the top of the race.
Casey's done a nice job of getting himself back on the lead lap, and now started to rear the field, worked his way right back up here to the top 5. 6 right now, but working on the 5.
Now Matt Kenseth running in 5th. It's actually quite a ways up to his teammate, about 5 seconds to Carl Edwards in the 99. It's running in the 4th position right now.
32 laps to go next time by.
The track ought to be getting right now, Larry. Sun is just about gone down.
33 of the 43 starters still on the racetrack. And Kurt Busch in command by 1.3 seconds. Krista.
That's right, Mike, and obviously he stayed out, but on that last pit stop that they had, the adjustment that they made, it was absolutely perfect. In fact, he said he had gotten the car tightened up just right. One of the things coming into this race Kurt was worried about was the fall off. He said the drop off here on this track is tremendous. You get 10 laps in and you want to say uncle. Forget about the uncle, it's a different relative today. Oh brother, where art thou? It's Kurt Busch up front.
Kurt's fastest lap, Krista, 30.6 seconds. His last lap, 33.3, and that's a drop off of more than 2.5 seconds.
But that's a whale of an improvement over earlier when they were almost up in the 35-second bracket. So, like I said, once the track cools off, your car stays better longer.
The last time 2 brothers won back-to-back races in the Sprint Cup Series was just last year. Kurt Busch won at Loudon and Kyle Busch won the 4th of July race at Daytona.
This battle for 5th just will not go away, though, between Matt Kenseth in the 17 and Casey Kane in the 9, as we've got 30 laps to go. Now, if you go back to the top of our show, the FedEx Understanding the Race, one of the things we look closely at, traditionally this race ends up with a caution somewhere about 25 to 30 laps to go, which we're getting into that window right now.
Well, there's so many cars there. I hear them go by here that are running on 7 cylinders. I mean, just hammering. Ryan Newman, David Ruderman.
You're all clear, bud. Clear by 2.
Several cars go by here that are down on the cylinder. So, you know, when you got that going on, you could get a caution.
Casey Kane up to 5th, having made the
29
pass
to go
on Matt Kenseth. And Clint Boyer's dropping back a bit. Dick?
Well, they started out the day running extremely well. The car just seemed perfect for about the first 100, 150 laps, Mike. But then as the day wore on, as tire wear happened, they just haven't been able to keep up with the adjustments. And Bowyer has slid further and further back.
He's in 9th place right now, 14 seconds off the lead.
And remember, he came in here 2nd in the Sprint Cup Series points after finishing the 2nd at Las Vegas.
I'll tell you where he's at.
Yeah, the 48 is 10th. Jimmy Johnson had to serve that pit road speeding penalty. And he now finds himself 10th and fighting back. He took the restart in 12th.
About 2 seconds behind Clint Bowyer right now.
One of his teammates runs 3rd, Jeff Gordon. The other runs 13th. That is Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt.
Seems like Dale Jr. is still experiencing issues with that left rear. Moments ago, Mike, he just keyed the mic and said it feels like the left rear wheel is about ready to fall off again.
Get the hammer.
You know, another car that has really taken a hit here in these last few laps, that he's still on the lead lap. He was one of the cars that everybody talked about in the garage area this morning, ran in the top 5 quite a bit. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car, he has actually fallen back to about the last car on the lead lap. Matt, either they went the wrong way or this racetrack's going away from them.
It's been a work in progress, but Larry Mackey told Mike Ford about 10 laps ago, he said, I'm really sorry, guys. This is all I can do with it. It's just way too loose. He's just trying to hang on to the finish.
And that's what that's what you do. Once it gets that loose, you can't drive it. You just have to slow down or you'll wreck it. So he's just trying to salvage what he can now.
Kevin Harvick, 6th. Matt Kenseth, 7th.
Oh, Harv is pretty good about kind of laying back there. Remember at Daytona and a couple other places?
A lot of places.
Kind
a lot of
lays back until just right near the end of the day, and then he pops up in the top 5.
Let's see. Kyle Busch won this race last year. Kurt is leading with 25 to go. What other brothers have won back-to-back at Atlanta? The answer after this. .22 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500 from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Brian Vickers beginning to eat into Kurt Busch's lead nibble by nibble. He's down to 1.2 seconds right now. Today is Sprint Mobile Monster Moment. Kurt Busch's pass of Jeff Gordon for the lead. Busch has led 5 times for 212 laps today. But this one's not over. Brian Vickers is trying to close in. And it wasn't exactly back-to-back, but Bobby Allison won here in March of 1978. And in a bizarre finish in November of 1978, NASCAR flagged Richard Petty the winner. The public address called Donnie Allison the winner. Petty had just beat Dave Marcus to the line, but it turned out that a scoring recheck initiated by young Brian France gave the win to Donnie Allison, the last of his 10 Sprint Cup Series wins. So Bobby and Donnie back-to-back at Atlanta in 1978.
Well, in the immortal words of Morris Midkiff, scoring is impeccable.
Nice story about that in this week's NASCAR Scene, a remembrance by Steve Wade. That gap just has not changed. Busch and Vickers remain 1.2 seconds apart. We're just inside 20 to go.
Yeah, one lap Kurt will beat Brian by a 1/10 of a second. The next lap Brian will beat Kurt, and the net gain or loss, it just doesn't change.
It's a wash.
Because we've got 19 to go.
Hey, Jack, Mike, do you remember Jack McDonald that worked for Jenny Dunleavy back, and they called him Uncle Jack? He passed away, and I just wanted to send out our condolences to his family.
Sorry to hear that. Jenny Dunleavy from Richmond, Virginia, gentleman car owner, one-car team. A long list of rookies of the year drove for Jenny Dunleavy, and Jack was an integral part of that group. You're right.
You know, we were just riding with Carl Edwards, and he's kind of there in limbo. It's about 2 seconds up to third place Jeff Gordon, and then back over his shoulder it's about 7 seconds back to Casey Kane in the 9 that's running in the 5th position. Here we're riding with Carl. We've got 18 laps to go now.
Boy, everybody else is slip sliding away.
Well, this is going to be a full run on this set of tires right here and the tank of Sunoco race fuel if we go to the end without a caution.
One thing I noticed about the 2-car, Ryan Newman didn't help Kurt Busch a whole lot, and they're coming up on some traffic here, and that could be Vickers' best friend right now. I think if he could get to Kurt, might be able to give him a little bit of a run.
Darrell, last lap he beat him by a 1/10 of a second.
35, 16 to go.
Same.
Kurt has led 217 laps. The last time a driver led more than 200 laps here was Jimmy Johnson in October 2004. Most all-time at Atlanta on the old mile-and-a-half configuration when they ran 328 laps. One day, Cale Yarborough led 308 of 328.
Wow.
That's putting a spanking on him. Short man, he could do that.
But Darrell, that last lap, Brian Vickers beat Kurt Busch by almost a 1/10 and a half. And he beat him 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths. That he is reeling that number 2 car in as we've got 15 laps to go. Guys, I can see it. I can smell it. A good old Atlanta finish coming our way.
Down to 7/10 of a second in 2 laps. Brian Vickers has knocked 4/10 of a second out of Busch's lead.
It just seems like this traffic, I don't know if it distracts Kurt or if it's messing him up aerodynamically, but it really has slowed him down some.
Busch is a former Cup champion. Vickers has seen that kind of success in what's now the NASCAR Nationwide Series. And both drivers had rides with top teams. Roush Racing in the case of Busch, Hendrick Motorsports in the case of Vickers. They've changed rides. Vickers now with Red Bull, and Kurt Busch has matured under Roger Penske's guidance. And now they are racing for the win with 14 to go.
And Kurt's starting to look back. I saw him get a little bit loose off turn 4 right there. You start looking back and knowing that guy is catching you, man, the heart rate picks up.
You can see the interval there on the pointer shrinking ever so slightly.
And they both are just right out next to that wall. Can't make a mistake here.
Boy, Brian got a great run off turn 2 that time and carries it all the way down that back straightaway.
That's where Brian is really gaining. You watch him here in 3 and 4. Where Kurt has been so fast from a center off, this Toyota of Brian Vickers is too.
Well, the stopwatch tells the story. And folks, you can see at home right where Brian Vickers has been gaining. 12 to go.
Hadn't heard a whole lot from the spotter about where the 83 car is or anything.
Well, Darrell, if you're catching him running the same line that Kurt Busch is, what do you do when you get to him?
Oh, you fake him out. Yeah, you know, maybe he can run the bottom, but he doesn't want him to know it yet.
Yeah, he's chopped the lead in half in about the last 6 laps. As when we get back over here, we're going to have 11 laps to go. I mean, it's down to about 3 or 4 car lengths now.
Oh, it's on. There's no question. It's on.
We're fond of saying that racing in Atlanta is like a rubber band. It stretches out, it contracts, stretches out, and then right as you get to the finish, everything all comes together, and here we are.
Now that last lap, Kurt actually got a little better run off turn 4 than Brian Vickers, but their lap times was almost a mirror that time.
Well, when you got a car as good as that 2 car is, you just don't want to mess up. You know, you might not be giving 100%. We may see him turn the wick up here right at the end of this thing and get him a little cushion.
There is a lot of lap traffic in front of our leader, Kurt Busch.
That's what has been the difference. When Kurt runs up on traffic, it has really slowed him down.
11 to go. And Busch's car has been up against the wall today. Not sure what that might have done to it. In 2 weeks, we all go short tracking at Bristol, Tennessee. Boy, is that going to be fun.
We get an off week, but we need it before we go to Bristol.
Right.
What did old Mike Dillon tell Bowyer, or whoever it was, when he hit the wall? Narrowed it up. It'll go faster now.
And keep in mind, Kurt Busch has 5 wins at Bristol.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, he's getting loose off 4. I just saw it there. He's starting to just jump a little sideways every now and then off turn 4, the 2 car of Kurt Busch.
9 to go.
I think he's pretty good off of 2. It looked to me like he's getting a little loose off of 4, but he's really good off of 2. I think he really pulled away a little there.
Well, yeah, he's back up to 0.6465 seconds. Vickers gains a little in the straightaway.
Let's watch him come off of 2 here. This is where, or off of 4, I'm sorry. The car just got a little bit stepped out the last time by here.
Actually looked like Brian Vickers' car stepped out a little bit that time off turn 4. 8 to go.
They're both trying as hard as they can. I'm sure that now that Kurt's looking back, say, if I got anything left, I'm going to use it now.
Vickers has 1 Sprint Cup Series win. It came at Talladega. He tried to pull out from behind 2 cars, mistimed it, and turned his teammate around. He went on to take the checkered flag and a win that was not entirely popular.
No, very unpopular win.
You're safe, food, let him overdrive.
Well, you can see that 2 car. It's just a little bit free off at 4 there, but it's still able to maintain.
Now that car that Kurt Busch just went by, Brian Vickers has to get by him. That's Kurt Busch's teammate, the 12 car of David Stremme.
Are you implying that he gave Kurt a lot of room and isn't going to get Brian so much?
I would say there's a distinct possibility.
If you're not, I'm going to.
Yeah, right.
It's 10-4. Stay with it here. We're all right.
That Stremme goes to the bottom of the racetrack. We'll be coming to 6 laps to go this time.
Whoa, Vickers loose. And let's applaud Stremme for that. He doesn't need to figure into
Look
this.
at Ryan Pemberton. He's holding up a 1 and a 2. A 1 and a 2.
Get him out of the way.
Well, he wasn't in the way. He was all the way down the bottom of the racetrack.
Sure, Ryan.
Stremme got way out of the way.
But I feel Ryan Pemberton's pain. Been there, done that.
No kidding. Man, you're so close.
Dude, I don't know if that 2's got enough fuel to make it.
Ah, that's right. Let's talk fuel mileage.
Boy, Larry, that's your area of expertise. Go ahead.
Well, the fuel window is about 54 to 58 laps. There's Pat Tryson, the crew chief for Kurt Busch. We've already documented that the Dodges probably don't get as good fuel mileage as the Toyotas. Kurt Busch was on pit road with 64 laps to go, but there's 11 caution laps in there.
Got to be able to make that.
And the pace has slowed down to over 34 seconds. He's using less fuel.
Yeah, you got to be able to make that.
Well, it's like Tim Brewer once told me on pit road. He says, I'm not sure if we got enough gas, but we're not stopping.
And I would say that's the case in all these cars with 4 laps to go next time.
That interval just kind of stays the same all the time. I think one gives a little, one takes a little, but it equals out.
Slow. I'm moving into 1 really slow.
Got a smoker down low.
Robbie Gordon.
Boy, and that car, that yellow car there is just...
Robbie gets off the racetrack with a good bit of smoke.
That's a tire that's come apart. Caution will fly.
Now if I don't have enough gas, I'm really worried. What if it goes green, white, checker?
But Darrell, here's the deal. These guys, they've got 50-something laps on their tires. You know, now we don't get the free pass now. You know the back 7 or 8, 9 guys are going to come get tires even for 2 laps.
Did you see what Jimmy Johnson did here last year?
Yes, sir.
He came in, got tires, restarted like 10th or 12th, and in 3 laps chased down almost won the race.
But that's where I'm telling you, Pat Tryson, Ryan Pemberton, Steve Letarte, Bob Osborne, those top 3 or 4 cars, they will earn their money, those crew chiefs right here.
So if Kurt Busch stays on the racetrack, does he become a sitting duck?
It depends on how many stays out with him. If he stays out and everybody comes in, see ya.
But I didn't say Aflac duck, I said sitting duck.
But with what we've seen that tires are worth, there's no question, even with 2 laps to go, Kevin Harvick for sure on back through Dale Earnhardt Jr., they're going to come get 4 tires.
Right, that's 6th through 12th. And a little side skirt there on Vickers' car. No big deal.
No, it's just a piece of plastic.
Won't slow him up. You can brush that off on the wall, can't you?
Yeah, that's why it's loose, I think. Well, I mean, the problem is, if you're the 2 car, you can't come in.
No. Now, pit road was closed, and yet Matt Kenseth came in.
Now, the other thing, remember, we're well within 10 laps to go. This will be Matt Kenseth was out of gas. The reason he came to pit road, when the car slowed down, the fuel ran away from the pickup. Let's see what happened. Here comes Kurt Busch in that 2 car. Vickers is going to follow him. Let's see who stays out.
Boy, what a gamble.
Steve.
And the 83 of Brian Vickers slides to a stop. He gets a clean windshield. They're going to take 2 rounds out of the left rear of that 83. Krista.
The leader, Kurt Busch, had to come in. They were that close on fuel. Pat Tryson said 4 tires and fuel just enough to get us to the end. Matt.
Jeff Gordon trying to get back to victory lane. A place he hasn't done it over years. No debate with crew chief Steve Letarte. He said, whether the leaders come or not, we are going to have to hit pit road.
Best I can tell, all the lead lap cars came to pit road. And
best I can tell is Carl Edwards just dusted them.
3 spots on that 99 car, so he'll have the lead with what we'll know is probably going to be about 2 laps to go.
Now, Larry, we will have a photo finish.
Yes, we will.
They're going to either come across here sideways, slideways, backwards, every which way you can imagine.
And it'll only be lead lap cars to the front. Single file restart.
Great job. Great job.
Checkers or wreckers.
Got that right, buddy. Yeah, this is going to look like Days of Thunder.
All right, we're going to check out. They're checking right now as we speak. Did the 99 car and Bob Osborne go with just 2 tires only on the right side?
He beat everybody out so much, you'd think he did.
Now we have at least 2 cars on the tail end of the lead lap. Jeff Burton and Denny Hamlin did not pit and pulled up to the safety car. So we'll see how this aligns itself when we get ready for the restart. 4 laps to go this time by. If necessary, we will go to overdrive, which is 1 attempt at a green-white checker finish.
All right, the 11 and the 31, to answer your question, Mike, I think they just came to pit road there, and we did get a confirmation. Bob Osborne rolling the dice on Carl Edwards, 2 right side tires only.
See, I think that's the right call. Get the track position.
And Bono for Martin Truex made the same call. Right side tires only on the number 1.
We've seen these cars, whoever gets out front for a little while can hang on.
Would we have been held up by the 88 if he came in? Everybody take 4?
Yeah, I believe so. And actually, I lied to you. The 39 took him for track position early on and held on for a couple laps.
That's what you can do for a couple. I mean,
we're
not talking about 10 laps here. If you remember, Ryan Newman was able to maintain pretty well for about 7 or 8 laps, 10 maybe. Only got to go 2.
So they're cleaning up debris from Robbie Gordon's tire on the back straightaway.
There's a sick man right there. He said, "Why did that caution have to come out?"
That's right, because instead of 2nd, Brian Vickers is now 6th.
You know, I know Bob Osborne, we didn't hear it in the radio transmission there, but just remember, they have had a lot of issues on pit stops today. That might have been a little of the method to the madness going with just 2 right side tires.
Well, you heard them say, or heard Carl say, he didn't want to get blocked. They didn't want to get blocked in because the 88 was the last car on the lead lap, and by the time Junior got into his pit, that'd be about the time Carl would be heading out. So for now, that looks like a good call. Chris?
Well, Brad Vickers losing position, of course, and you heard Kurt Busch. We had no choice. We had to come in for fuel. You were shaking your head, though, when we were listening to one of the crew chiefs, or at least watching.
Well, I was watching what Bob Osborne was telling, Carl Edwards about the 12 car, I mean not 12 car, but 39 car Ryan Newman, is the fact when Ryan did that and took the right side tires, they only had like 10 laps on the left sides. I believe we got close to 60 laps on the left side tires on that number 99 car. So it'll be interesting to see whether they match up or not, because as Darrell was talking about, Days of Thunder, it sounds like a little old deal where I'm going to tell the driver what he needs to know and it's going to be okay. Just drive it off in there. It'll hook.
Yeah, well, with a single file restart here, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've got to put it all out there.
Hey, if you come to win, you got to go for it every now and then. And
Jeff,
that's the only way you do it.
have you ever heard being a salesman on pit road?
Yeah,
I think
and that's what I loved about it. I
Osborne
knew what he was doing. I knew what he was doing. I was just shaking my head. It's like, yeah, I've been there before. You got to tell him that it's going to be great. Just trust me. Just trust me. You know, it's right there. I can't tell if that right there was a cyanide pill or an aspirin for the headache. You know, I don't know which one is going to wind up being.
Just a headache, but yeah, this is when the palms are sweaty, the mouth gets dry.
Well, this is what they get paid for, and I mean, and this is what we keep talking about, great finishes in Atlanta. This guy's been involved in them. He knows what it's all about. Kurt Busch is going to be putting all the pressure on him. Don't forget Jeff Gordon. I mean, we've been looking at some guys. You're leading with 10 laps to go. Can you believe that Kurt Busch has got 16 wins and only 5 losses?
Hey, Chris and Jeff.
Yeah.
This could be what might happen for them. We know how much these guys are going to be up on the wheel. The best thing that could happen for Carl Edwards is the green flag for the restart and get a caution. Then they would win the race because you only get one attempt at a green-white-checkered.
Yep, and we've had 5 last lap passes to decide wins here in Atlanta. We might be in for another one. Let's go back up to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
You know what? You could have put 6 tires on that 99 car, and you ain't going to beat that 2 car. I can just tell you that right now.
You're right. Unless, as Larry says, a caution comes out before Kurt can get to it.
How many times have we had cautions on the restart at the start-finish line?
That's the only way, because you watch this dude, when they drop that green flag, he'll go around him on the outside like he's got a rope tied to him.
Now, we will be in overdrive. Cleanup continues now on the front straightaway. So they will run these cars under caution, and we'll have 1 attempt. They'll wave the green, next time by the white, and then the checkered. If the caution needs to come out, the race is over. Videotape and other available evidence will be used to sort out the order of finish. But the moment of caution would decide the race.
I don't know if it means anything or not, but all of our buddies down in the NASCAR booth are all up out of their seats and standing on their feet. So I think they're thinking it's going to be pretty exciting too. And all up and down these stands here, they're all up on their feet.
A lot of excitement coming on Fox Sports Bristol for NASCAR in 2 weeks, and we're all looking forward to the start of Fox Saturday Baseball. Phillies raising the series. What a season that was. And now some new faces in new places. And Manny back with the Dodgers for 2 more. Albert Pujols to lead the Cardinals. Going to be fun. 4 o'clock Eastern on Fox. Mark Teixeira with the Yankees. Big April matchups on Fox Saturday Baseball. But first, a big finish here in Atlanta. We're going to overdrive. 2 laps to settle this. 1 chance. And Darrell, Kurt Busch knows what he's got to do. He's got to get past Carl Edwards before the melee ensues behind him.
Yeah, the only thing that Kurt's got to worry about is that Carl would do something to slow Kurt's momentum down. That would open the door for him to go down the back straightaway about 6 wide. So if Carl can get off to a good start, and Kurt can too, Kurt shouldn't clear him off turn 2.
And we know how bad that cat back there in 3rd, he wants to get to victory lane. Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, he's got 4 fresh tires. Martin Truex Jr. in 1, only 2 tires like the 99.
And how about old Harv in 5th place? How many times have we seen where did he come from on the last lap?
Yep.
And we know he got his first win here in Atlanta.
Smoke's up there. He's up in the 9th place.
Casey Kane, Clint Boyer.
We got us a little shootout here, boys. A little shootout.
2 laps. Here we go. It's on.
Boy, Gordon got a good restart. He's going to pull to the high side. Kurt Busch shuts the door on him going into 1.
Boy, Kurt didn't get off to a real great start, but he's going right for that high line up off of turn 2. And he should be able to make the pass. Carl's going to try to slam the door. No way.
But look at Jeff Gordon in that 24 car. Carl trying to slide in between them, and it's not going to work. White flag next time.
Harvick jumped up to 4th on the restart, but I think he's too far back. It's a 3-horse race.
That 2 car is not that good on the bottom, but he's got him enough lead. I think he's going to be okay.
1 to go.
That 2 car is just too strong for everybody today.
Looks like the battle's going to be for second. Carl Edwards fighting back, though, on the bottom.
On the bottom, you're clear.
Oh, Gordon's got a run. Here he comes.
Boy, Gordon got a great run. He side drafted off of Carl Edwards, and down the back we go.
Watch him. He's going to pack it down into turn 3. This 24 car. See if he can stick.
He can't do it. That
Busch
2 car is just on a rail today.
Versus Big Daddy Kurt Busch, Roger Penske win in Atlanta. 19th career victory for Kurt Busch, who started on the outside pole and gets his 3rd top 10 finish of 2009.
Those guys should be jacked up, baby, I tell you.
Great job. Thanks to 99 for racing us cool.
Led 233 laps.
2nd win here for Kurt Busch. And in his 296 starts, it's the most laps he's ever led in one day. It's also the 7th Cup win for crew chief Pat Tryson.
Look at him.
His 4th with Kurt Busch.
He is pumped up.
Hey, and there comes little brother. Say, nice job. Keep it in the family.
For car owner Roger Penske, it's his 2nd win here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Rusty Wallace drove a Penske car to victory here in 1993. The right side scraped up.
Yep.
Well, sometimes that's what you got to do to win here in Atlanta.
Right side scraped up, you've been racing. Left side all beat up, you've been in the way.
Well, this is something new.
He doesn't understand what the Polish victory lap's all about. Somebody needs to explain it to him.
I will say that this is different here. I believe he's going to go all the way around this mile and a half racetrack backwards.
I see the basis of a new Digger cartoon right here.
This is something bad wrong with this.
Folks, this victory lap's going to take a little while.
He's just unwinding a little bit.
Yes. I wonder if they'll credit him with 1 less lap run. Victory lane after this.
Welcome to the Lipitor post-race show. NASCAR on Fox Live at Atlanta. A Busch wins again. It was Kyle last week. Older brother Kurt rolling past Digger in victory lane. And let's check in with Matt Yoka. Matt?
7 years ago, Kurt Busch went to victory lane here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I don't know what was more impressive, the new victory celebration or winning in overtime in dramatic fashion. That was big.
Man, this was an incredible race. I have to thank my guys. This car was unbelievable, and good things come to those who wait. We waited over 1.5 years with this COT to find a good package, and we've had that to start off 2009. So unbelievable with the Miller Lite Dodge today. Great calls by Pat Tryson, our engineering staff. Penske Power, Power, it's back. It feels awesome.
And also for the Busch family, back-to-back wins for the 2nd year in a row.
And that's neat. I mean, I got to hold my end of the bargain because Kyle's on the gas right now, but I got to thank guys like Carl Edwards for racing me clean at the end, and Jeff Gordon was strong all day. And when you beat those 2 kind of guys here at Atlanta, especially on a day when it reminded you of Darlington, this place will just chew you up and spit you out, and we had to handle. So we're hanging on to her. I got to thank Dodge. If that doesn't inspire anybody to go out and buy a Dodge Charger, I don't know what will, because we beat David, or we were David today, we beat Goliath, but just a great group. And thanks to Dodge, Miller Lite, Mobile One, all of our guys, PPG, and just everybody that puts an effort together. I know they're celebrating at PT's Pub out in Vegas. Thank you so much.
And Kurt Busch going on next to Thunder Valley, a place where he and this Blue Deuce, Dick Berggren, have had a lot of success in the past.
Well, Jeff Gordon with a 2nd place finish. The 2nd time you finished 2nd this year, so much better this year than last. What's the difference?
You know, just this race team stepping it up. We're really proud to have National Guard on board this weekend, the Youth Challenge, and gave them a great run. And, you know, this DuPont Chevrolet team's just been unbelievable this year. Just, you know, the fire in their eye, with the things that they've been working on back at the shop and the setups that match, you know, my driving style, some things I've been working on, physically, just being more fit. And man, the pit crew, everything. I mean, these guys have just stepped it up. You know, I mean, we've had little small issues, just like last week with the fender, this week with the clutch, and these guys are just flawless. You know, they're just not skipping a beat. And we're going to win races. We're getting close. That was a heck of a battle there for second. Had a lot of fun, and you know, we'll keep knocking on the door until we get into victory lane.
Congratulations, another terrific run.
Carl Edwards also gave it a shot. Their call was for 2 tires. Carl, was that the call? Anything else you guys could have done differently?
No, that was what we had. That was the hand we were dealt. I mean, we had that pit stall down there that was not good. And, you know, all I could think was that race when Jimmy Johnson won it. They threw the green flag and then the yellow flag right there. And I thought, man, I'd rather be in the lead in that situation. So just can't thank Aflac enough. We had 1,000 Aflac employees in the stands. And little Dalton was here, and Ford and Vitamin Water and everybody. Just wish we had 4 tires there. It was a good race. Kurt did a good job, and he was the fastest car all day.
To Steve.
Well, Chris, to the story for Brian Vickers, what might have been. Brian, you got up to second behind that 2 car. You had a little trouble on the last pit stop. If you had not had that trouble, could you have run Kurt Busch down?
I mean, I think we definitely had a car for it. You know, Kurt was better at certain parts of the run, and we were better at others. We obviously ran him down. You know, we were both running the same line, so it was going to get interesting when it came down to the end, but it would have been an exciting finish for the fans. Congratulations to Kurt and that team. They did a great job. It was fun racing him down there at the end. We were both rim right about as close as you could get to the wall, but really proud of the car by the Red Bull team. You know, it was a great car all day. We had to fight back through some troubles, but we did. Unfortunately, we just lost there in the last pit stop.
Thank you, Brian. Good run. Let's go back upstairs to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Steve. Well, no one can accuse Kurt Busch of being mild thing. He truly dominated today, led over 230 laps, and whipped him at the end.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of races where you say that was a perfect race. Sometimes the circumstances will get you a win. Today, Kurt Busch, that crowd, they ran the perfect race, start to finish.
And you know, when I look at Carl Edwards finished 3rd, of course, that's a guy that won 9 races in 2008. But so many people were asking last year, what's wrong with Kurt Busch? What's wrong with Jeff Gordon? Well, I think they're showing not only just today, but these first 4 races, they're going to be contenders in 2009.
All right, boys, pack your bags and your bumpers for Bristol in 2 weeks. Chris Myers.
Mike, of course, we saw Kurt Busch with 5 wins in his career at Bristol. He's got his own little March Madness going. He's won 5 races this month, the most of any month so far in his career. More on the postgame show. Jeff Hammond's thoughts when we continue from Atlanta. We're glad you're with us from Atlanta. Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers at a Hollywood Hotel. These are your point standings after 4 races into the 36-race season. Of course, 26 before the chase. Jeff Gordon came in as the leader. Carl Edwards up to 4th. Tony Stewart, who had a terrific run, being a couple of laps down, Jeff, got in position to finish in the top 10, 6th in points.
Yeah, talk about that right there, being 6th in points, but also guys like Casey Kane and Brian Vickers, they made some good steps forward today, and you Greg Biffle and a couple of the guys that stumped their toes. Well, it's still a long season, but being up there in that top 12 still matters.
Kurt Busch, he started 2nd, never fell beyond 5th, and you know, sometimes you have a good car, you don't handle it as well. They did what they had to do to maintain position. 5 times you had to recapture the lead to win.
Well, the key thing right there to me is like what Darrell said. It was a near perfect race, and when you think about you run 500 miles, sit up there on the outside pole, and you're able to keep up with the racetrack. Even when the car got away from him and he got into the wall a couple times, Kurt didn't panic, neither did Pat Tryson. They worked on the car, put it back like it was, and as the track cooled down, they made the right adjustments all the way down to the last call to come get tires at the end of this race. They didn't give up anything on pit road with the crew, and they came out on top.
Kurt winning for the captain, Roger Penske, and Bristol next week, where, as we mentioned, Kurt Busch has 5 career wins in Thunder Valley. We hope you'll be with us. We have a week off, so it's 2 weeks technically when our coverage begins at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, high definition NASCAR on Fox. And tonight on Fox, following us here, Hole in the Wall. Sounds like a place you hang out, Jeff. The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, and American Dad. All right,
we know that's not you.
All right, 4 races in. Matt Kenseth wins the first 2. The Busch brothers win the next 2. We get an off week. Real quick, what should we look for heading to Bristol?
Look out right now, maybe for a battle between the Busch brothers in Bash City back up in Bristol.
For Darrell, Larry, and Mike, Krista, Steve, Matt, and Dick, Jeff Hammond, I'm Chris Myers. 2 weeks. We'll see you in Bristol, Tennessee. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. Bristol is in our windshield straight ahead. Promotional considerations provided by